Don't hit an officer. Oh, too much? Don't hit an officer with your car. Wah, 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 wah. Fuck off. I kicked out an officer's tail light and all I got was this casket. I don't care. I don't care. I don't like you and I don't want you around anymore because you are a harm to society and you benefit the rest of the civilized world zero. If it's not based in some kind of truth, sorry, my empathy now goes out the window. When there's a pattern, a lifelong pattern of lying, I despise you more than a worthy opponent.
Well, this is rather awkward. So, to those of you who were here yesterday, you will know exactly why. To those of you who weren't, there's nothing to see here. No, hasn't happened in a while. And this one's rather interesting because I have fallen asleep probably 5 or 6 or 7 times, somewhere in there, since I've been streaming. Never have I done a stream where I fell asleep and somehow still got more numbers than like usual, like a decent amount. Usually it's bad enough to where there's not that many people that actually show up. This time it was a little bit higher than I would like. So that was cool. I'm sorry for the boring sort of nature. Maybe it wasn't boring. Maybe I was sleep talking. I do sleep talk, so I have no idea. I didn't wash it back, and nor will I. But yeah, the real part that sucks was attempt number 3, I think. After first having a situation where I went way too long and I couldn't do the show because it was too late. And then the second time, the whole PC glitching out and crashing right dead center in the middle of the show when I was just about to start playing clips. Like literally as I was going to play clips, that was when the show crashed, was when I tried to load a clip. And then attempt number 3, I fall asleep. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, the first time I was smart enough, by the way, when I said it was too late, it was too late. But I also was too tired, and I realized that I was probably going to pass out in the middle of the show, so I decided not to. This time, however, and I got to say, this is, once again, just an example of what I've been talking about, and one of the main reasons I'm still waiting to get some kind of diagnosis. No one can really figure out what's going on. I don't know at all either, of course, but yeah, I had no idea going in. I wasn't tired. I didn't feel tired at all. Granted, it had been a while since I'd been awake for a while, but usually I have some kind of signs, at least some sort of telltale signs that would suggest that, yeah, you're pushing it. You need to really take a nap, get some sleep, do something before you are going to do anything like, I don't know, go live or anything. Anyway, so I really didn't know. Sorry about that. It sucks, but anyway, and also this isn't just for the sugar. This is because I love Italian ice cream. But in any case, and I didn't get a chance to finish this before the show. But instead of waiting around and doing a bunch of other stuff, I will just say 1 or 2 things real quick. Number 1, I did get the Rumble wallet officially working. So to those of you who have the app, you can now make tips, or tip jar should be open, and or you can also donate to me on Rumble wallet with the cryptocurrency of your choice. There's like several different types of crypto available to use. For those of you who don't, you don't have to, but you can check out the Rumble wallet. And there's a handful of people that I'm subscribed to already that do have a Rumble wallet open. Not all of them. So I think, I don't know if everybody wants to or not, or if they just don't know about it existing yet. I did hear about this just kind of briefly on stream that I can't remember who it was even, but anyway, did go in to check it out because I was interested, and I realized I don't even know that much about crypto when I finally decided to check it out. But I'm learning more now. But anyway, so now that that's out of the way, I'll let you guys know you can tip to me on more than just PayPal now, which is much more convenient, I'm sure, for those of you out there, especially those of you on Rumble. You just it is all on apps. You do have to use either Android or iOS to be able to access it. I don't think it's even available at all on any Microsoft platform yet, as far as I know. I couldn't use it on my PC at least, and I don't have any other Surface other than phone and tablet, and that's Android and iOS. So anyway, yeah, just let you guys know about that because I haven't earned anything yet during the stream, so and this is gonna be the year. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Really, like I told you guys, I don't bullshit. I've got no. I don't ever try to hide anything. I do hope to make some sort of financial benefit in some way or shape or form eventually from doing my show, especially when I'm able to do it and not pass out in the middle of it. But I digress. So anyway, that's part number one. Part number two. As soon as I get done eating this, we'll jump into the clips because this time I'm not waiting anymore. I'm tired of freaking waiting and not being able to deliver on what it was that I told you guys last time. And I've been sitting on these for the last 3 attempted shows now. And now this is going to be attempt number 4, and this happened obviously several days ago now. Actually, not all of it. There's a couple that were from in the middle of waiting because as I was getting prepared to do the show, a few things came up that I thought would be relevant to the situation because we're mostly going to be talking about Minnesota today, and what's going on in Minnesota because oh man, geez, this is crazy. So they had a couple um, of what do you call it, hearings in the House and in the Senate, and most of them were just witnesses. Either people who are locals in the area or who have kids in the area or something and have tried to enroll in the school or just know the situation. At one point, they brought in Nick Shirley. At one point, they brought in that guy he was with, David, on the video he made, which that guy is really knowledgeable on the subject. He knows exactly what's been going on because he's been following it for a long time. But they finally, in the Senate, brought in the Attorney General of the state, Keith Ellison, which, before I'd seen his testimony, I really thought, man, the mayor, Jacob Fry, is really one of the worst in this situation. He's a real scumbag. He's like everything that goes on, he passes the buck. It's always everything's Trump's fault. Everything's Kristi Noem's fault. Everything is ISIS' fault. It's always their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. Blah blah blah. I thought, man, this guy's a real jerk. Whew. Then I got a load of his DA. Oh my God, this is. I hope you guys are ready for this because, man, this guy is one hell of a piece of work, and I never would have expected the kind of, not just the attitude. The attitude's bad enough. Like, he's got a real shit attitude. He treats everybody that's opposed to him like they're stupid, or but how dare you ask me this question? He's a real jerk about it. But the other side is he's arrogant as hell. The most arrogant son of a bitch I've seen in a long time. This guy he's a real piece of work. And even so much to the point that Ron Johnson even calls him out, and his questions are done. He has to use. I can't remember if he uses somebody else's mic or if he has to lean back down to turn his mic back on and point out that that smirk is on his face is just ridiculous considering the situation of his state. But anyway, it obviously made an impression. But between him and Josh Hawley, who both really got in some really good jabs in on this son of a bitch. So I did at least feel like at least he had some serious pushback from some people who were not playing around with his stupid ass. But anyway, now there we go. Done with that. Sorry about that. I normally don't like to eat on stream, but that was too good, and I was not going to cut it short. So, in any case, so let's go ahead and get started with the show. Oh, and there was one other clip I was going to bring up today. Well, actually, because this is a story more about. Oh boy, geez, I didn't notice that. You know what? Hang on just a second. I just noticed this. I forgot that there's blue all over my shirt and green, and it's going to key off of the colors, and it's going to drive me crazy whenever I see it. So probably drive you guys crazy if you are paying attention to my shirt at all. That's anyway. I'm gonna need something to go over this. Nah. All right. It is a little chilly. It's been cold outside all day today. It really sucks. But anyway. All right. Sorry about that. I get really anal about things like that, and I've got to do something on the spot to make it right, so that nobody's distracted by the green screen keying off my shirt. Anyway. Okay. So. All right. And as I was just gonna get into, what was the? Well, yeah, that's right. There was So, if you guys are like me and you don't follow the Olympics at all, you might not have caught any of this, but I just thought it was really unusual. We're gonna at some point go over the what's it called? There were some American athletes for the Olympics that were the Winter Olympic Games that I guess it's in France. That were just like they felt the need overseas once again, and this is what really rubs people, including me, the wrong way when you're on foreign soil and you go bashing the country you live in, especially when you're you're an athlete representing the country, wearing its colors, wearing its name on your jersey, and you're essentially there to compete in an international level for the Olympics, and you are literally bashing the country that gave you the opportunity to be there. It's really not a good look, but even worse is when you're completely full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about when you're doing it. It'd be nice if you actually knew what it was that you were trying to raise an objection about. So that doesn't help. So it really is annoying in my personal opinion when you have to go to those lengths. I mean, like, come on, what are you doing? What are you doing? There's other ways to do this. There's better times to do this. How about you wait and do it then? It's just ridiculous. So there is that. That's not too big of a point to focus on, but and it's not really like the most incendiary thing I've ever heard, but I just thought that it's pretty distasteful, and to be honest, it's just the sort of I hate to call it this, but I can't think of any word that fits better. The way it's become kind of trendy to uh, shit on America whenever there's a camera rolling is really off-putting. Like it's really disgusting. um, which you know, on top of everything else, um, is exactly the kind of thing that you would hope if you are on any kind of level that you're competing with America, that you would see a population that was really uh, against their own country or against their own government or against their own policies or whatever. I mean, if you oppose government policies and you don't like the party in power or whatever, that's one thing. But like to once again be shitting on the country and doing it in a way that's like there's some sort of issue with it that's really running deep. There's something that's really rotten to the core about the country. We need to root it out. But once again, it's like these people don't really have any idea. It's like, oh, the Renee Good shooting and the Alex Preddy shooting. It's just I'm not very happy. I have mixed feelings about the country. Yeah, okay, yeah. Why don't you actually, listen to someone other than fucking some CNN host or BS Now and all the other crap that comes out, and actually find out what happened really, not just which and that's the other subject. I'm not gonna get to this today, but this is coming up in the next episode because I didn't have time to really get the clips ready. But the situation with Stephen Colbert and I can't remember the guy who's the guy running in Texas against Jasmine Crockett for the Senate. Jeez, I can't remember his name. Who cares? His name is he's stupid. Um, uh, Jason something? I can't remember. Anyway, they had an episode of Colbert's late night show where they were gonna they actually had the whole segment already made and recorded, but they pulled it and didn't air it because the FCC came to them with a concern about the equal time rules that are supposed to govern any kind of public access television. And like any regular non-cable or he tries to make it sound like he's on a cable channel. He's not. He's on a public access channel that you can get from just using a digital antenna. And I know that, by the way, because my grandparents have never had cable, and according to my grandpa, they never will have cable. He's totally anti-cable still. But even though they have internet, by the way, really goofy. But actually, the way he describes it is it's so snaky. It is so dirty. It's like he tries to put it off like they're trying to make it so that they couldn't do it without having equal time to somebody else. It's like, yeah, but this is a Democrat primary we're talking about. The competition is another Democrat, and he tries to blame it on Trump, and they don't want Trump doesn't want anyone criticizing him on TV. They don't want to censor. It's like he's talking about another person who hates Trump and would come on and bash him as well. What the fuck do you mean it's about Trump and not wanting anybody bashing him on and be censored and all this? It's just ridiculous. That they just this FCC has finally started enforcing some of the fucking rules that they're supposed to enforce, which, like I said, really only applies to maybe he's just butthurt that he doesn't have a cable show. I don't know, but that's why when it comes to things that are funded by taxpayers and by the U.S. government in some way, shape, or form, there's certain FCC guidelines you have to follow, but once again, this is we're not talking about the actual general election right now. We're talking about the primary, and if you have the competitor on, you would have to have the other candidate on, and they were talking about of all things going after The View for this because I guess that guy's been on that show too, but and it's just this guy's such a phony, and now because he was already on the show, and I really should have all the details and actually get this show clip prepared. But just to quickly kind of give an overview of what I've heard so far before we even get into all the details. It's ridiculously stupid because first off, Jasmine Crockett came out, and you could tell she really didn't want to even do this because she's like, it's not because of the government. It's the FCC has made it clear that it wasn't really because. It's like, yeah, we know that. We know that it's not because Trump has a vendetta and he's censoring everybody in sight. No, this is because Stephen Colbert is a partisan hack who wants what's best for the party, and everyone really basically knows. I mean, that every conservative that I've heard speak on this wants Jasmine to win because they want Jasmine Crockett to win the primary and go on to have to be the opponent for whoever the Republican candidate is, which right now it looks like Ken Paxton is starting to break away, and being in Texas and having it be Ken Paxton, the current attorney general for the state, even though he's not really super well liked, if there was a state he could definitely do well in, it would be Texas because, well, man, he's pretty iron-fisted down there in terms of the illegal immigrant situation, and in terms of, well, he was no fan of the Biden administration, I'll put it that way. But yeah, so when it comes time for the general, the thing is that it's going to be polarizing either way. They just figure that if it's Jasmine, she's going to drive away so many regular, more moderate Democrat voters, which there's still moderate Democrat voters. There's no moderate Democrat candidate left. The only difference with her and the guy, I can't remember his freaking name, I don't know why, is that he hides behind this veneer of like, oh, I'm not a radical. And when you hear him talk, he's most definitely, he's definitely not a moderate, but he can play one, just like Beto or that dumb shit that, yay, I'm on a skateboard. But anyway, so it was interesting to see all the lead up. I'll get to the full situation and all the commentary on the next show, I'm sure, because that was one of the bigger things that come out this week. But for now, let's get to the hearing, because this is really, like I said, I don't think I've ever seen a more openly smug and arrogant individual when we're talking about something really serious in this situation, like people getting shot and killed in this situation. That's how serious we're talking about. So, yeah, geez. Yeah, the first one's Ron Johnson, and then Josh Hawley with Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. I can't. Keith Ellison. There we go. Yeah, this guy is a real. Oh man, this well, if you haven't ever seen him talk, just fair warning. This guy's not easy to listen to. And I mean the excuses and the like. The way he presents things is so ridiculous. It's just, which I was actually watching before I did the show today. I was thinking about trying to include this. It was a segment with Jared Moskowitz on Mornings with Maria on Fox, and she was asking him a bunch of questions about the SAVE Act. And once again, nothing but excuses. He's talking about, well, an ID is fine, but all the requirements are out there. It's like, yeah, the ID is actually the point. The idea is actually kind of important, but no, you don't need to have all the other stuff except for on registration. When you register to vote, they want you to have proof of citizenship to register. That's it. That's the only time it's not required every time you go to the polls. It's not required every time you vote. You don't have to send in proof of it with your absentee ballot. No. Just to make a registration one time, and if you're not already registered to vote, then you have to register to vote, and you have to do it in this way by providing proof of citizenship. That's it. Yeah. So, and by the way, to married women and women who's had a name change, along with anybody that's had a name change, it's like, oh no, my last name has changed. It's like, first of all, I thought that was all shit on so many times by feminists who are like, don't take your man's last name, that's degrading, that's patriarchy. So I thought that was already kind of done with. But but if you even if you did change your last name, I have great news. you should remember something like, some event where you get something, this awesome thing called a marriage license or marriage certificate, something along those lines. It's definitely something that has information about your marriage on it, and it's going to list your name, that now that you're married, and your husband's name, and it's going to, on occasion, it's going to mention your maiden name. But even if it doesn't mention your maiden name, you can bring along your proof of citizenship that you would have with your birth name on it, and show that alongside your marriage certificate, and it's going to clear the problem up right away. So there's no concern there. But once again, Democrats are making it out to be like, you have to provide a passport. Who has a passport? And like, I don't have a passport, but I do have my birth certificate. I mean, I would imagine that if you have, I would imagine most people do, and even if you don't, it's pretty easy to get. Like, if you're an American citizen, of course, it's pretty easy to provide proof that you were born in the country. Like, absolutely, it's not that hard. But and I could understand if they're requiring that to vote, but they're not. They're requiring just an ID to vote, just your regular driver's license or ID to vote. What they want to make sure of is that the person who is registered to vote under a certain name is going to match up with a certain ID and be voting, and they can put down a record of that person voting, and that there's no devil ups on that. There's nobody trying to vote under that person's name. If that person is in another state and voting, they're no longer in a different state voting. Like that, this is all for, like, control over those types of things. The ways that people have been able to kind of get around the voting laws before, and this whole notion that voter ID, it's not required. There's no voter fraud going on in the country. Yeah, there's no voter fraud. Okay, sure, there's not. It's very interesting to hear, considering there was all this talk not too long ago about how illegitimate the president was. I mean, they stopped going in so hardcore this time, but because it was undeniable. But and because they worked themselves into a corner where if you challenge elections, if you're going to do something so sinister as be election denier, well, then we might as well throw you into prison right now. Anyway, but yeah, I was gonna I probably won't go into too much detail about that later, but just I may go into detail, especially if there's more talk about doing a standing quorum, which I've been really surprised to hear about that whole thing. But I'll leave that for another time, because that's a whole nother thing. But I will say that there is hope. In case you don't know, there is hope that it's potentially a real possibility for the SAVE Act to actually make it through the Senate if they demand a standing filibuster, which as Mike Lee has called it. I think it was Mike Lee that was talking about it. They have for the last few decades, really for a long time now, adopted what's been referred to by some people as a zombie filibuster, meaning you don't actually have to filibuster to invoke the filibuster. And I never had understood that either. I'd always wondered, like, why is it called a filibuster when they don't talk? That's not like, this has nothing to do with what the actual word means. What's the point of calling it a filibuster? And then I found out why, and like the process of what is historically the way it was supposed to happen when you invoke the filibuster in the Senate, and then it started to make way more sense, especially considering that you hear that these sorts of things have caused the Senate to be gridlocked on a bill or something for weeks, or even over a month in some instances, apparently, that have been really long periods that something's been held up in the Senate. But if anything, that doesn't sound like Jim Crow 2.0 to me or anything like that. Like the whole filibuster being just like Jim Eagle, according to our great former president, and former vice president, Joe Biden. The bill that made Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle, and nobody still really knows what that means because it doesn't really mean anything, I'm sure. But yeah, that's it's always interesting to see because the Democrats, they hate the filibuster until they love the filibuster, and when they love it, oh man, they're gonna use it every time possible, especially if it's something like voting rights or voter ID or something like that. They really are going to go for it. Anyway, sorry for wasting all this time. Let's go ahead and get on with this show here. This is starting off with Ron Johnson against Keith Ellison and his insane excuses for why he doesn't want to deport illegal aliens. So, and I'm serious. Basically, that's what this is. Why Keith Ellison and the state of Minnesota are against deporting illegal aliens. I said evil aliens. Maybe the evil aliens too. I don't know, but the illegal ones definitely. So let's get this show rolling.
So a lot of what we heard here today literally makes no sense. When you look at the history of returns and removals, the Obama administration, first Trump administration, you have to kind of throw out Biden. It was such an aberration. Obama, on average, they returned and removed about 650,000 people a year. Trump in his first term, about 500,000. It's lower than Obama. This first year, there have been a little under 600,000 returns and removals.
By the way, I just want to clear the record on this because I've heard these numbers before, and it does need to be said because a lot of people are wondering, well, why is it taking Trump so long to deport all these people, and why did Obama deport so many more? Two reasons. Number one, when Obama quote unquote deported people, that includes people who just showed up at the border and were turned away. So it doesn't involve deportation at all. It just means non-entry. So I mean that's fine. I would prefer that, but call them deportations if you want. That's fine with too. But let's get our actual facts straight. Like there's no situation of people that are here that were led in the country that Obama completely just went in and sent ICE after. We do know that ICE. Oh geez. But anyway, we do know that Obama basically had ICE under his presidency, and they used it to very effectively get the border secured and make sure no one was going into the country that wasn't already a citizen. But at the same time, what the hell? Okay. Maybe someone. Wait. Oh, hold on just a second. Something weird's going on here. When was it? Oh, wait, that was from me earlier. Was that from? Oh, yeah, never mind. Oh, jeez Louise. Holy hell. Okay, never mind. We can get rid of all this. Sorry, I just thought I got a message about something else. Voicemail, call, voicemail, text message. Okay. So yeah, that's call it whatever you want, and you had ICE, but the reason it's taking Trump so much longer is because once again, you have states like Minnesota that's not allowing them to do operations in their state because they're sanctuary cities. We have sanctuary city policy. It's like we have break the law policies here in this. You might as well be saying that, but it's also just Obama would never have had to fight with anybody to basically get whoever he wanted and to have them removed because there would have been an excuse for it. Like there's never been an administration that was like the Biden administration that had obviously this policy of anybody that makes it to the border we're just going to let them in, no problem. I'm just going to let them in and that's fine. They'll just wait here till their court date, which, by the way, that reminds me, I'll play this after this clip, but before they, and that was the whole point of invoking the Safe Third Countries agreements, which it'd be great if we had that arrangement worked out again. And it sounded like they were trying to do the same thing um, again recently, but the news that I watched, I can't remember who was reporting on this, but they were trying to make it seem like I have the clip. We'll check out, but they're trying to make it sound like there was this new thing, and it was so evil and cruel to be doing this, sending them to some place that they didn't know and they weren't familiar with. It's like, yeah, they don't know and aren't familiar with this country either. At least they shouldn't be if they're not legally in the country. So, the point is that if they're going to come into the country, they're supposed to be detained. If you don't want them detained in this country, the only other option is to send them to another country that's not the country they came from, where they're supposedly fleeing from to seek asylum. You can't send them back to their home country like you would a normal case for uh, becoming a U.S. citizen, or even to get a visa and you're waiting for your paperwork to get approved. None of those countries let you just wait in the country by going out and into the population and doing whatever you want every day. You have to be in, like I said, you have to be in detention and under that's under control to not allow you to just escape and enter the interior after the entry hasn't been until the entry has been determined to be lawful, credible, and without threat to the people of the country. Then then you can enter the country with no issues. But that was Trump's because the whole kids in cages thing, that was originally Obama's uh, the Obama facilities for people that were awaiting an asylum or a refugee status or something along those lines, where they were seeking protection. They were supposed to go through the process to not enter the country, but uh, not go somewhere where they don't feel safe enough to be. Um, so yeah, it's the idea that first of all that Trump isn't trying to. Well, that's just ridiculous. Is that there's people trying to prevent him. He's tried to come up with all sorts of reasons, which, to be honest, right now there's just nobody that's really being let in under asylum or parole, really, unless it's real parole this time, not the kind of bullshit parole that Biden did, but actual parole. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up because I'm kind of mystified by the approach, and I get the reason why. It would probably piss a lot of liberals off to know that Obama was deporting people at all, let alone turning away poor families at the border that are just looking for a better life for this. Yeah. Fuck off. Anyway, let's get back to this now.
That's a lot, but it's not a whole lot when you realize we flooded who knows how many, at least probably 10 million people, if not more, during the Biden
That is a big
administration.
problem.
We created
That
this
is a big
enormous
problem.
mess. By the way, including that, according to DHS, 650,000 criminals that are at large. They're not detained. 15,000 murderers. 20,000 people convicted of sexual assault. I mean, that's the mess that the Democrat and President Biden's open border policy created that the Trump administration is trying to clean up.
And who knows how many foreign terrorists, by the way. We still don't even know how many of that. The for sure number that we got that are known is at least 600, I think, was the last count. I think was, and that comes from everywhere from the Middle East to China to Russia. I mean, who knows what these people, what their record is, or what they plan to do when they get here. I mean, it's I don't know if I even want to speculate, but that's another fun one that they just didn't happen to catch. So great stuff, wonderful.
But they deported close to 600,000 people under this administration, and in most states and most cities, there aren't protests. There aren't protesters being shot. Obviously, problems in Los Angeles, probably Portland. These places that claim to be sanctuary cities, it sounds like Attorney General Ellison is denying the fact that, we cooperate with ICE. I think Representative Niska wouldn't agree with that. So again, I'm trying to square the circle going, this doesn't make sense to me. I wish we had the government officials here, DHS officials, our next panel on this one, just to refute this, to rebut it. We had a very interesting hearing last week on the fraud in Minnesota, and we had State Senator Mark Cron. And in his testimony, he was talking about local reports of something like 30,000, they call them observers, being trained. Okay, I thought that was an incredible figure. I'm not saying there actually were, but it certainly sounds that there are activists being trained. Are you aware of training for activists, Mr. Ellison? In Minnesota, that some of these protesters literally went through training. There are groups out there providing training. Are you aware of that?
If you guys remember too, we talked about.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, it's common for people to use their First Amendment right to protest things that they don't believe are right.
Were you aware of the
First Amendment activity, sir?
Yeah. Were you aware of the signal chats? I believe it was the lieutenant governor of Minnesota was actually helping manage one of those signal chats that were deploying those trained activists to the legal law enforcement actions. Or were you aware of that signal chat that was being used to deploy those people?
I'm aware it exists, but this is First Amendment activity, sir.
Okay,
this is something that the law.
Did you ever encourage people to go out there and exercise the First?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I freely admit being in favor of the First Amendment.
You encourage trained activists.
What a smart ass. God.
To put themselves into harm's way because you had to know, because you were watching this, that there were scuffles at least, that these people were obstructing justice. I would think you'd actually, as the chief law enforcement officer of Minnesota, be concerned about people obstructing justice. So, putting their cars in streets, blocking roads. I would think as chief law enforcement, you would be concerned about that.
That's not First Amendment activity.
Were you ever concerned about encouraging, I guess, people to support you to go out and put themselves into harm's way?
No, we never.
Impeding and obstructing illegal law enforcement action. Did that ever concern you?
Sir, that never happened. We all times said, if you want to protest peacefully, protest safely. But you'll never find me being against the First Amendment
right now. But
I'll always be for the First Amendment.
But you were seeing the scuffles, right? You were seeing and by the way, Minneapolis police officials could not help protect ICE officials, right? I mean, Representative Niska, isn't that when you're talking about the nullification of federal law? Isn't that one of the, Hennepin County, that they simply could not help and protect ICE in their legal law enforcement actions?
The Minneapolis Police Department issued guidance in July saying that they would not even help with crowd control around immigration operations. And Minnesota leaders encouraged that kind of action. The Minnesota Lieutenant Governor encouraged people to put their bodies on the line.
I can't imagine.
She was the one in the signal chat.
Encouraging somebody that supported me politically to go and put themselves into harm's way. Yeah. I can't imagine that, particularly when you know that these law enforcement officials had been shot at.
Yep.
A couple of illegal immigrants inadvertently killed because people were shooting at ICE officers.
I don't know if you guys remember this incident. You probably do. The incident at the ICE facility, and I can't remember what state it was in, but there was the guy with the rifle that was posted up outside the ICE detention facility. Started firing at the ICE agents as they were unloading a truck full of and that was something else too. This was funny. I'll get back to this later, but their SUV, they're unloading some illegals that they had they detained, and the guy that's firing on the facility, he was shooting, trying to hit the ICE agents. They didn't get hit. The guy did manage to kill 2 illegal immigrants though with his little vigilante action he was going for, I guess he would probably try to call it. So yeah, he goes after the ICE facility trying to kill ICE agents, and he ends up killing 2 illegal immigrants instead. And there's, of course, before that, they're having frozen water bottles thrown at them. They're having their cars destroyed. People swinging all kinds of stuff, throwing concrete slabs at them, throwing bricks at them, throwing all kinds of stuff being thrown at ICE agents, and fireworks being fired at them. And now there's a guy that's posted up and trying to actually kill ICE agents with a rifle, and ends up killing 2 illegal immigrants instead. Nobody really wants to talk about that, but that's exactly what ends up happening. And like you said, in that kind of climate, with this kind of thing going on, if you're going to encourage because I keep hearing nonstop, I don't know how much you guys hear this, and it drives me up the fucking wall when I hear this. The idea that what's it called? That ICE are just killing innocent civilians. They're just killing civilians, and it's like no, they're not just out there killing civilians. They have killed 2 American citizens who were acting very unlawfully, and not only impeding ICE's investigations and removal proceedings, but also at the same time attempting to assault or to kill ICE agents or to dox them. And it's like, once again, there's nothing to say for that kind of stuff. Nothing to bring up as a refutation or rebuttal why you would want to rile up your population and make them believe that ICE is doing things they're not really doing in order to. No, not at all. Not at all. He's going to play dumb, and he's going to play dumb the whole time.
Their vehicles have been rammed by some of these peaceful protesters, probably the trained activists. They've had rocks thrown at their vehicles. I can't imagine encouraging people, put yourselves in harm's way. Get out there and record that. I, as a government official, would have said, back off. Let us work with ICE. Let's cooperate with them. Let's see if we can't de-escalate this. But Attorney General, you did the exact opposite. And 2 people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves into harm's way. And now you're exploiting those 2 martyrs. That was a tragedy.
Yep.
It never should have happened.
That's the most sick part.
Now, we can investigate, but I can't imagine being a law enforcement official where I know my colleagues have been shot at, their vehicles rammed, that there are trained activists deployed. And by the way, we know at least one of those activists had a semi-automatic pistol with extra clips.
Yeah.
So now you're an ICE officer. You're doing enforcement action. You've got a team behind you trying to protect you. You've got all these trained activists behind you. Is it any wonder they're at hair trigger alert?
Especially
a tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it.
They wanted
and you ought to feel damn guilty about it.
What I've been saying
Thank you,
forever,
Mr. Chairman.
the whole time, is that that's exactly what they want. Now look at this. Look at this smug son of a bitch.
Yeah, sit there and smirk. Smirk. It's sick. It is despicable.
Are you
I've
asking
never
me for
seen-
comment, Senator? Because everything you said was untrue. It was a nice theatrical performance, but it was all lies.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Can I just say on behalf of everyone, what a fucking piece of shit. What a fucking piece of shit. That was a nice theatrical performance. He gives a shit more about the citizens of Minnesota than the Attorney General of the state does. It's like the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. This guy he really doesn't fucking care at all. And like I said, this is exactly what they wanted. This is exactly, they were waiting for the second ICE was going to be the one pulling the trigger, and it was going to be either an immigrant or an American citizen was going to be killed. They were waiting for that to happen because they wanted to demonize ICE so bad, but they needed the ultimate demonization, which was to be responsible for somebody getting killed during one of their operations, and they got it twice. They got even more than what they were hoping for, and they leveraged it every single day since then. Every fucking time they could bring it up, they've leveraged it, and it's just, you can tell he doesn't fucking give a shit. He couldn't care less. The only thing he cares about is that he can use this to further his anti-administration, anti-ICE, anti-deportation rhetoric, and make every single person here that's illegal in the country, well, they're all just working hard and paying their taxes. And bullshit. So Josh Hawley decides to take a little different approach. Let's talk about something else that he's probably not as prepared to talk about, but he should be because it falls under his jurisdiction as the Attorney General. And of course, he doesn't give a shit about this, so he's not going to know as much.
Chairman, Mr. Ellison, let me start with you. You're the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. Do I have that correct?
And listen, right from the get-go.
Yes.
Sir, you're aware of my job. You know the answer to that.
You're not going to answer my questions? Are we going to start this way? Are you the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, yes or no?
You know the answer.
Mr. Ellison, you're in my courtroom now. You're under oath. So I suggest that you answer my questions. You the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state of Minnesota, yes or no? Let's try another question. Are you familiar with the $9 billion in historic fraud out of your state, including the $250 million in the Feeding Our Future program alone? You familiar with that? Don't turn to the pages in your book to get your potted answers. Are you familiar with it? Yes or no?
I love that.
Yes, I am familiar with it.
Very familiar, aren't you? Because the people who ran the Feeding Our Futures program came to you in your official office in the state capitol December 11th, 2021,
This is really good.
and asked for your help in getting investigators off their backs. They complained to you for upwards of an hour about state investigators going after them, and they begged you to help them, and you agreed to it, amazingly. And we know you did.
That's not
because
true.
It's all caught on tape.
Yeah, it is
Every
caught on-
single sentence is caught on tape. Here's what you said. Let's
And
take a look.
obviously you didn't listen
said,
to the
it's not a
tape.
question. You said to them, send me the names
Obviously,
of
you
all
didn't
these
listen to the
folks
tape.
who are investigating them.
It's
You
a-
said to them,
it's
send me their names.
transcribed.
And I'll take that list and I'll call the person over at Education who was investigating them and say, what's going on? Why am I getting these complaints? Then he went on to say, I already have my team working on this. What day should we get together to discuss it again? You made pledge after pledge to them. You said, we've got to make sure this guy who's investigating them stops it. You said, you have my attention. I'm concerned about this. You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who were investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please, we're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help
I
them?
thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you
Are you
help
going to let
them?
me answer?
Why did you help
You
them?
let me answer and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good.
Let's do that.
That'd be a nice change. Why'd you help them?
Now see, Mr. Chairman, I didn't come here to be insulted. I came here
You
voluntarily.
came here for the truth. Let's
I
have
came
it.
here- I
Why
didn't
did
come
you
here
help
vol- I
them? The
came here
quotes are
voluntarily.
here. They're
So
in
look,
black and white, and every
yeah,
member of this audience
and they're
can listen to the
and they're-
recording. It's 54 minutes long.
Do
It's
you-
all in public.
does-
You can Google it right now and listen
Right,
to it.
and listen to it
Why'd
all.
you help them?
First of all, I didn't help them.
You did help
No,
them.
I did not. I certainly didn't.
You're saying you didn't do anything for them. You didn't.
Well, wait a minute.
I already have my team working on this again. That's not you?
I have
It's a ventriloquist?
my team assisted with the information that led to the prosecution and conviction of these
No,
people.
you didn't. You didn't lift
Yes,
a finger
we
to
did.
prosecute him. No, you did not. You
No,
didn't
because
lift a
they were-
finger
it
to
was a
prosecute
federal
him. You had,
prosecution.
BS. You had
Okay,
whistleblowers
but then-
come
no,
to you as
no,
early
you're
as 2019.
You're the one talking BS.
Hey, listen, it's my
You're the-
time.
Doesn't know what you're talking about,
Oh,
sir.
no, sir. You
You're the
now have
one
encountered the truth and you
cherry-picking
don't like it.
quotes.
Why'd you take their
You're the
money?
one taking
Why'd
their
you
money.
take their money?
I didn't.
You took
No, that's a false statement.
$10,000.
No, that's a false statement.
$10,000 9 days after the meeting.
False statement.
You took $10,000. Here's what
Untrue.
happened. They went to your office.
That's a
They
false
solicited
statement.
money from
They
you.
did
They
not come to
solicited
my
help
office.
from you.
That's also wrong.
They came to your office.
No,
It
they
was your
didn't.
official office. You
No, they
met with them
didn't.
for 54 minutes.
No, they didn't.
asked you for help. You pledged it to them, and they talked repeatedly about money. In fact, it's all they talked
That's
about.
a lie.
Money, 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 money. They
True.
said, we
Untrue.
will put our dollars in the right place. We will support candidates that will fight to protect our interests. You replied, that's right. They said, if you are
that is
securing
not
your
true.
donor base and securing your power
Oh,
base, you
man.
can act the way you want. You replied, money is freedom. They said the amount of money circulating. I'm reading the
this is
transcript. The amount of money
you're
circulating in our community
misreading the
today is
transcript.
powerful, and we haven't realizing it in a meaningful way. And you said, give me the specifics. And 9 days later, you took $10,000
That's a lie.
from people who were then indicted. It's in your reports. Why'd
Sir,
you do it?
Sir,
Was it worth it?
You know what? This is a theatrical
10,000.
performance.
This is the
Oh,
truth. This is
theatrical
what accountability
performance,
looks like, of which you've had
No,
none.
no, the
You
fact-
helped
That's right.
fraudsters defraud your
Lie.
state and this government of $9 billion, and
Sir,
you got a
this is-
fat campaign contribution out of
This is
it. You ought to be indicted.
True. Well,
That's the truth.
I think we've made the point. Let's keep the tenor
Well,
just a
for the
little more
record,
Oh,
calm.
I'll ask how I want
he's
to, Senator
lying,
Paul.
and that's the
He's not even
truth.
going to let
Oh, no, this is all on
Rand
the
Paul
record.
go
sir.
in
Did you
and try and
bother?
lower that temperature.
Did you bother to investigate where
nope.
the money that you facilitated their fraud for, where it went? Do you know where it went, what it was used for, the fraudulent money? I do, because we just heard testimony about it yesterday.
Because we
the
were
funds
key
went
players in the
hundreds of millions of
investigation.
dollars to terrorist
Yes, we
groups,
do
to
know.
transnational criminal organizations, to the drug trade, to drug trafficking, to child trafficking. And you took $10,000
That's a lie.
and helped them do it. You know, the other thing is,
untrue statement.
whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look.
Damn.
As early as
This-
2019,
this-
whistleblower.
that's the
Don't talk
detail
over
there.
me.
No,
As
no,
early
you're
as
talking over me.
2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as
I'm not your pal.
2019,
Don't call me pal.
whistleblowers came to. Well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
Well, see what you can do
In
about it.
2019,
Oh, man, he's
whistleblowers
pushing
came to you
buttons,
in your
dude.
office
See what you
and
can do
referred
about
to
it.
you fraud
This guy
allegations from
is a-
feeding our
like I
futures,
said, he's
and
a
you blew
piece
them
of
off.
work.
Listen, your own state newspaper
That's a
investigated
lie.
it. The Minnesota Star Tribune, the Partners in Nutrition, brought its concerns to the Attorney General's office in 2018 and in 2019, and you did nothing. You did nothing for years. The only action you took is,
False statement.
once all these fraudsters came to your office
It is a
and asked you to
false
get involved
statement.
and offered you money,
Did not come to
then
my
you got
office.
involved.
They
Then
did
you
not-
took the money,
they
and then
did-
you got involved.
They did not come to my office. You're completely wrong about that.
You met with
I
them
did
for
not take anybody's
54
money.
minutes, and you took $10,000, and they also gave your family money. They gave your family thousands of dollars in campaign contributions in addition to what they gave
false
you.
statement.
Let's put the
This is, this is completely untrue.
the New York Post.
Yeah, we
He's
know
just
the New
playing
York
total
Post.
dumb.
Minnesota Keith
Oh,
Ellison,
yeah,
AG,
yeah, the
accepted
New York
campaign
Post,
donations
let's
from individuals linked to the
try and attack
$250 million
credibility of the New
COVID
York
fraud
Post
scheme
now.
after they were in your office.
Not-
the donations came on December 20th.
Sir,
you
this
met
is
with them
not-
on December the 11th, and on January 20th, the
Oh,
FBI
man.
knocked over their headquarters.
No.
That's the sequence of events here.
No, it's not.
You've
the
been
sequence
right
of
at the
events.
center of this fraud
not
thing
the
from the
sequence of
beginning,
events.
and
It's
you've
untrue.
enabled it. And, sir,
The false
you
statement-
should resign.
And sir, you should
should
resign. I
resign.
was thinking the same thing about you.
Should resign.
You,
Thank you,
I was
Mr.
thinking
Chairman.
the exact same thing about you.
I'm sure after encountering
Yeah,
this
yeah.
truth, you are, because it hurts to have
because
accountability, doesn't it?
Because after this parade
It
of
hurts to have
lies and
accountability.
presentation,
Time has
I think you should be
expired.
ashamed for misrepresentation.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah, Josh Hawley should be ashamed for the misrepresentation. Wow. I heard a number of people say this about what was going on there, and I kind of have to agree, I guess. Like, I've watched a lot, probably more than I should have, but I've watched a lot of freaking testimony take place in the House and the Senate and in different hearings. I've never seen one to that degree of somebody so fucking arrogant, so fucking self-righteous and condescending, and just, first off, the way he laughs after Ron Johnson's questions, and then answers the question like that. He seems to have no fucking, like, no concern whatsoever of the gravity of the supposed innocent protesters that were only exercising their First Amendment right to protest. That was all they were doing. It's like, Yeah, no, I don't think that was all they were doing. You sure are celebrating the hell out of it. You sure really come up with any excuse at all for, number one, why Renee Good wanted to take off driving and, whether she meant to or not, hit the ICE agent. There's no denying that she hit the ICE agent. Fucking left-wing pundits and politicians can deny it all they want, but you watch the video and you actually can see what's going on. Yeah, he got hit. He did get hit by the car, number one, and then for as much as leftists hate freaking firearms so much, they hate guns so much, they'll make every excuse for why it was fine for Alex Preddy to go into a protest after, beforehand, yeah, a few days earlier, kicking the van of not a van, the SUV, which this is important in just a second, kicking the SUV of an ICE agent vehicle and actually going so far as to get the ICE agents to come out, attempt to arrest him, having other protesters come up and distract them long enough for him to get away and actually evade arrest, which is actually a crime there, only to come back with a firearm and then this time interject in the other, in another ICE activity where they are attempting to take a woman who is also obstructing justice and interfering in their investigation and insert himself into that situation by attempting to block the agents from being able to effectuate an arrest, and then attempting to once again evade arrest himself until they discover that he's actually armed, which anybody that's ever, if you've ever been pulled over by police and you ever have a firearm on you, I'll just tell you, this is the way you always handle it. It doesn't matter if it's on you, if it's in the glove box, or it's in the trunk. In this state, it's required by law for, if you're transporting a firearm, for it to remain in the trunk. That's the law in the state. I don't personally think that's so much of an egregious one, although it is kind of not exactly the safest thing, but in case of something like carjacking. But regardless, the point is that no matter where it is, you always inform a police officer who's pulled you over, I have a firearm in the car. You tell them where it is, and whenever they are there to do whatever it might be, they can they're at least aware of the fact that you have that on you, and that and then there's no surprises. You don't go around interjecting in law enforcement official activity and use that as an excuse for jumping into an arrest or jumping into one of their other activities to obstruct justice or to evade justice or to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, especially if you're carrying. And now all of a sudden, a liberal who usually hates firearms is making every excuse in the world for why he would want to have a firearm on him during these protests that have gotten extremely confrontational, extremely violent, and in which this guy himself has been at the center of it already once before. And he wants us to believe that none of that's beyond the pale. It had nothing to do with any of it. He cares deeply about the citizens of Minnesota, of course he does, and he hasn't been encouraging ICE agents or excuse me, the residents of Minnesota to just interject themselves into ICE's operations and to at the bare minimum, try to film everything. And one thing about that's really important, because if you remember, and I talked about this before, it took one camera from one perspective that just happened to be running from the right angle at the right time to be the centerpiece of an entire investigation, an entire court prosecution, and get an officer arrested to where he's never going to be released for the rest of his life because of that one video. And the reason I say that is because we're talking about the situation with George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. As I've said before, there were other officers that actually went to approach the vehicle and first were interacting with George Floyd and the other passenger of the vehicle, who at one point just finally took off because, by the way, if you didn't know, that was his drug dealer. And by the way, if you didn't also know, that was the theory that actually makes the most sense is that, especially considering the evidence afterwards, that um, when he was pulled over and he had his drug dealer in the car, the last thing he wanted was to be caught with fentanyl on him. So the theory is that he took the fentanyl and just downed them all before the cops came to the vehicle, so that he wouldn't have any of them on him when they actually got there, and if they searched the vehicle, which I'm sure he believed that they had reason to, because I think the tags were expired or something. And he was really freaking really laying it on thick. He was talking about how his mother was in the hospital, and the important part is that there was an arrest of him made like about 9 months before that, I think. And if you watch those two videos side by side, like watch them and see the way that he's speaking to the officer, it's almost word for word the exact same skit, the exact same lines. His mother's in the hospital. He's trying to get there. He hasn't been able to make it. He's been dealing with some serious personal issues that were serious medical issues himself, and blah blah blah. Like literally everything he said from the first arrest is still present there in second arrest, except for this time he had a bunch of fentanyl that he just downed and likely caused him to overdose and die. Of course, he didn't inform anybody because that was the whole point. He wouldn't have informed them that he took a shit ton of fentanyl, and maybe they would have injected Narcan in, and that might have actually done something. But nevertheless, because he didn't say anything, and because the rest of this was going on as he was first sat down on the sidewalk, then they attempted to arrest him. He was resisting arrest. They called in Officer Derek Chauvin's, not him directly, but they called for support. Derek Chauvin showed up and was there after he had already started saying he couldn't breathe. First time was when he asked if they could turn on the AC in the car, because as he was sitting in the cop's car, he was talking about how he was hot, he couldn't breathe. And then he asked, "Can I be taken out of the car?" They took him out of the car, but they put him in the resting position, which, once again, by the way, that is a holding position that was taught to every agent and every officer in the state of Minnesota. And once again, we're talking about Minnesota, which I think is ironic, actually, because this is where so much bullshit started, and where, now there's I mean, if you look at the area, and I've seen the photos and seen some video too, is the area where George Floyd was pulled over and eventually was dead. I won't even say killed, because I don't think he was killed, except for, if you want to say by himself or by his drug dealer, maybe. But there's other theories too for what could have been going on. But I think it just makes the most sense, rationally speaking. Even if you are, even if you're a heavy drug user, which, by the way, when it comes to fentanyl, even if you have a high opiate tolerance, this is something that a lot of people don't know. Because of the strength of fentanyl and because of um, the way it has to be measured extremely precisely, if you want to make sure that you have good control over the levels of fentanyl that are going into somebody's system, because it can only take a very small amount more to actually go above someone's actual tolerance level and put them in serious danger of overdose. So even if you're a hardcore opiate user, even if you, because that's the other thing, a lot of people come from heroin, and they've been on heroin for several years, and they are more than likely very, very dependent on heroin. Fentanyl is actually much stronger for the most part, and so basically everybody that used to do heroin for large part does fentanyl now. But even for people who are heavy users, I've seen this from documentaries about the subject, and I've seen this in a actual short sort of segment where there was a group of people following around this one guy who was living on the streets in Canada and was a fentanyl user, and talked about how many friends he'd known that had overdosed on fentanyl, and it was because they had taken opiates for a long time, and maybe had taken heroin or maybe some other types of painkillers for a long time, and had no idea that actually, yeah, fentanyl is actually uniquely dangerous, and if you aren't really careful about the amount you do, it doesn't matter how long your habit is. It doesn't matter how much your tolerance you've built up. It is such a potent amount of opiates that are in fentanyl that uh, just a slight amount over can even cause someone with a serious addiction who has been on the substance for years to overdose because they're just taking too much. And so once again, it makes the most sense to say that, yeah, it was definitely a fentanyl overdose that, not definitely, it was most likely a fentanyl overdose that happened that actually caused George Floyd to lose his life. On top of that, he has a mixture of methamphetamine in his system at the same time, so he's got an upper and a downer. He's got, um, a lot of crazy. He's trying to rob a liquor store because they don't want to take his uh, forged what's it called? Yeah, it's forged. Wait, hold on. I can't remember. Anyway, just the point is that uh, he is seriously like displaying all the signs. The ability, the feeling of not being able to breathe is actually a one of the symptoms of an overdose, and along with the sensation of a heart attack, numbness. Those are all things that are associated with a fentanyl overdose. Usually, just a general opiate overdose, or all of those things. Um, but as I said before, even though all this happens, even though oh, and one last thing, there were fentanyl tablets that were found on the bottom of the cop car after the incident, and they were analyzed, and the saliva that was on the that was on the fentanyl tablets matched George Floyd's DNA, and so they were likely spit up by him. Hey, MLA, what's going on, man? Thank you for trying to wake me up, man. I don't have really any sound effects going on messages that come in on my chat, so it didn't really help out too much. But thank you anyway, man. I wasn't feeling tired at all, man. I don't know what happened. It was really weird. But anyway, thank you anyway, man. I appreciate it. I wish I was. I wish I didn't fall asleep in the first place. But anyway, and sorry, there's this little freaking. It's been in here all day. There's this little freaking like gnat or something that's been flying around in here. It's really pissing me off. Anyway, yeah. So that was basically the whole point of what I was getting at was there's this one guy or one girl. I think it was a girl who's holding the camera who comes in only only after he's out of the car and on the ground, and Derek Chauvin is finally there, and he's using the same holding maneuver that they use in the Minnesota Department of the police department, and she's filming it from just the right angle to make it look like his knee, which is actually on his shoulder blades, is not actually there, but it's actually on the back of his neck, back of his lower neck, or wherever it was speculated to be. But yeah, I think I'm feeling a lot better today, man. I was really it was a combination of being stressed out really bad and then that leading to being kind of exhausted that I think overall really kind of caused it. But it really sucks. That's kind of the way things always end up going, more or less. But unfortunately, like I said, and like I said today, I think we're finally making it this time. I think this time we'll get all the way through. We're already about halfway through. This time I think we'll finally make it. But this is attempt number 4 at doing this damn show. So yeah, that was also on my mind really bad because like it sucked. It sucked after 2 times, and then going for the third one, I was like, I'm not letting it happen this time. And then I fall asleep, of course. So, but like I said, I think we're making it on this one, and I'm definitely feeling more confident, feeling much better. I got, like I said, I know you're not using Rumble MLA, but just to once again iterate what's going on, Rumble did open up their own payment processor. It's an app you have to download called Rumble Wallet, and you can use it to tip any creator or anybody on Rumble that you want to send a tip to. It's all done in cryptocurrency. You can actually buy and send cryptocurrency on the app. So anybody so inclined to give tips to me or anybody else on Rumble who wants to use their system and utilize crypto and is the method, which I thought was really cool that they would go that route instead of just going for the standard kind of site-wide currency that you can only use on the website and nowhere else. This is, by contrast, something you could use anywhere that you could use cryptocurrency for payments. So yeah, anybody so inclined can. Oh yeah, you know what? I didn't even have Discord on, so that would explain that too. But yeah, that was. Or maybe if I did, it was completely. Um, it was like a background application running. It wasn't actually in my it wasn't actually on my toolbar or anything. So but anyway, yeah, like I said, if you are so inclined, you just download the app. It's called Rumble Wallet, and you can tip me or tip Steven Crowder or tip anybody that you may be following on the app, and it's always very much appreciated. So and I have not yet gotten any kind of tips or donations yet since I've started Frame Advantage. So anytime anybody wants to, I'll be more than happy to send you a shout out and maybe send you a nice photograph, a picture of me with the big thumbs up and having a good time somewhere. Who knows? I'll give you a reward of some kind. I can't promise you the moon, but I can promise you maybe a star named after you or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with something. Anyway, but yeah, I will try to make sure I have my notifications on Discord. But anyway, so that was the first one. Now, do I want to go straight into man? Do I want to go from annoying and stupid to even more annoying, or do I want to go maybe something not quite so ridiculously difficult to go? I swear the other one was ooh man, I don't know if I'm quite ready for that yet. We maybe need a palate cleanser first. Hold on. How long is this? Oh, that's right. Well, I was thinking about going over this tomorrow, but it might be a good way to introduce it for tomorrow. This as well too. Oh, I was gonna kind of talk about this because, why not? You know what? We'll go ahead and get into this because this is kind of funny. So you guys may have heard the Washington Post. Um, they had to do some cutbacks and they had to lay off quite a bit of their staff. It's a large amount, I think. It was at least, what was it, a third at least or more, almost half even of their whole staff. That's writers and I'm sure some of the editors. And the funny part to me was the people that they actually did end up letting go of, and some of their job titles, man, it's very unusual for a newspaper to have this kind of people on staff. But if we are going to play this clip, unfortunately, I'm going to have to introduce it with a. Well, it's an old clip that I haven't had to play for a while because guess who appears in the clip? Hold on, let me get this clip queued up real quick, and we'll we'll get it ready. But anyway, there's when we're talking about journalism, we're gonna have to sometimes we have to invoke the actual expert when it comes to journalism, and somebody who's one of the most trusted names in journalism. And who might I be talking about? Well, geez, I don't know. Can somebody help me out? I think that. Are we talking about? Yeah, we are. We're talking about Brian Stelter.
Return of the fact, he's getting the sacks now, he's back, he ain't straight. Return of the fact, oh my God, return of the slack.
Shout out to Louder with Crowder, because, sorry, I'm stealing your bit. I don't care. I like it too much. Thank you, guys. No, anyway, this is, by the way, we're probably going to be seeing that again tomorrow because he's involved also in another discussion that we'll be going into. But this one on the Washington Post thing. Now, everybody's mad at Jeff Bezos. Everybody's mad at Jeff Bezos because he's laying off. And, this goes into the media and how they don't know what at all to say about people like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, or all the people that used to be firmly left that absolutely would never vote against the Democratic Party and always supported them and everything else. Then all of a sudden, this new administration comes in and they aren't, they basically have to be, willing to play ball when it comes to negotiations, because otherwise they'd be on the chopping block, and which I don't think really curries much favor when it comes to this administration. But there's only one way they know how to operate, and that is to kiss the ass of the people that are in the administration. So this is yes, I'm glad you like it, man. I'm glad you like it. Return of the Suck, of course. But yeah, so anyway, this was the piece that came up about Jeff Bezos on CNN, and also followed by some of the former employees airing their grievances. And this is just, to me, once again, it kind of illustrates why the paper is not doing so well. But of course they're not doing so well. They've been partisan they've been hardcore left for a long time. It's like this whole myth about how, yeah, they're the paper that broke the the Watergate thing. To be honest, I've heard a lot about that scandal from other people over the years who have a lot less of a high regard for Woodward and Bernstein. And to be honest, when you think about the whole overall situation, it really doesn't make a huge amount of sense in terms of a goal to be accomplished. And anyway, so that aside, though, the paper, whatever it may have been before and whatever journalism may have been at the time, we're talking about a period now where there's no, as much as they want to say that we're just presenting the news. No, there's an agenda being pushed here. It's obvious to everybody. And I was just talking about this the other day with somebody, and this is coming from somebody who, as I've said before, I live in California, and I've lived here all my life. I went to college at a community college. I went there for my whole college experience, and I took every journalism course that they had in their curriculum, including including broadcast journalism, including photojournalism. I was the editor-in-chief, co-editor-in-chief. There was two editor-in-chief at the time that I was editor-in-chief, because I wasn't even striving to be in that position. I was entertainment editor and the um, I was the editorial editor and the opinions editor and the editorial and entertainment. That was the other one. I was trying to remember. So I was editor for 2 sections of the paper, and then also worked as co-editor in chief for a year. Did the local circuit for community colleges and the sort of events that they would have on a state level that were inviting all the community colleges from the state to be at one event. And there were workshops and there were different courses and stuff. This was at a time when they would teach you that, the legacy news, newspapers, cable news, everything is historically been a fairly left-leaning sort of part of the profession, and journalism has always had a sort of left-leaning bias. It's true, and this was at a time, mind you, that Fox News has just started to really become this kind of big phenomenon, and everyone had started kind of noticing this juggernaut of a news station that was totally different than the others, and it was unusual for people. They couldn't quite get the right kind of impression and the right words to make a sort of assessment out of it. But one thing became clear over time as everything went on was that this was something that the teacher of the class actually had said at the time, and this is what you won't find anymore. Said that, considering the fact that we've had journalism in the country be something that was essentially always having a sort of left-leaning slant to it, Fox News adopted an approach that, well, if we can't get media that is going to be even pretending or trying to be unbiased about the way they present news, then, well, we'll just present the news from the opposite perspective on this channel, and then that'll balance out the information. And it seems like at this point that's going to be the best we're going to ever get to having balanced news. And I'll try to, man. I'll see what I can do. As long as I'm feeling all right, I'd be up. I'll be up for it as long as I can. But I'll try to jump on Discord as soon as I get done. I have a couple things I got to do, but I'll see if I can make it. And even if I can't stay on that long, I'll try and make it. But yeah, man, I'll do the best that I can to be on Discord. But anyway, so yeah, the reason I'm bringing this up is because considering the fact that this is in a state where it's liberal to the core, it's always a blue state. The local government makeup is super uniquely not particularly. Wait, what happened? No, not this again. Oh, okay. Man, I got worried. Whew. Okay, sorry, we had a disconnect, but it looks like everything's good still. Looks like Rumble. I think Rumble had any problems. It looks like I was just on the YouTube end. Sorry about that. A little strange, but last time when that happened, it was really weird, and but I had some problems afterwards, and it kind of became obvious. This time, not so much. Anyway, so like I said, blue state, blue majority, everything like that. But at this time, you could still go onto a college campus, albeit a community college, take a journalism course, and hear some pretty blunt honesty from the instructor of the course, who had been a lifelong journalist himself, had worked in this state, had worked in Arizona, had worked in New Mexico, had worked in Nevada, and had worked in big newspapers, and had worked at newspapers where he was literally the only writer on staff. So he'd done pretty much everything you could do in the business in his lifetime, and now he was a teacher at community college for journalism, and he was a great teacher. The point, though, being that that was then. This is now, and if you look at the difference now, where you can't even come out and admit that most of the news out there has a strong left bias, and it wasn't until the advent of social media and podcasts and live streams and things like that that you had a real shot of finding any kind of news or broadcast that was anything but left leaning. Aside from AM radio, which was cut out specifically by people like Rush Limbaugh, who really pioneered the genre to be sort of right wing talk radio. And I'll never forget when I was working my longest job aside from tattooing, my longest job that was at a car automotive warehouse for specifically for parts that were for any kind of vehicle, and it was specifically suspension parts. But when I was working there, I used to always listen to radio in the morning, and I for some reason would always turn on AM stations that were particularly, at first during the day, it started off kind of slower, and then it ramped up to all the way up to Sean Hannity by 11 o'clock. And I wasn't even conservative at the time. I actually more listened to it and got angry than anything else. But this was all leading up to around the time of the 2008 election, where at the time he had been specifically Hannity had been really anti-Hillary Clinton, and he had thought that she was going to get the nomination. I think a lot of people did, until Obama just came in and just completely ended up just owning the whole primary for the nominee that year. And it was like, and since then, honestly, it's hard to argue with the fact that Obama's kind of owned the entire DNC and the entire Democrat Party. The Obamas and the Clintons, though, are still the mega forces behind the Democrat Party, even to this day. And so whenever something is coming out that is going to be major Democrat Party agenda related, I think it's safe to say at this point it's still probably got to be run past either the Clintons or the Obamas to be approved before it's really going to be an official position. Anyway, I think that when it comes to newspapers like Washington Post, and when you have people that buy them up like Jeff Bezos, they're going to think that they're your ally, or he's going to think that he's allied with these people, and they're going to think the same thing until one day where they're not, and then they are going to have a brutal falling out. And that's what the rest of this video, but that's what this actual video is about. And then, like I said, you get a flavor for the people working at this newspaper and why they might not be exactly necessary for their continued success, if you want to call it that. So anyway, let's delve into here we go. Let's delve into this clip real quick, and then we'll go on to the last clip that I was planning to talk about. But yeah, this is just too interesting to see, because it's amazing how you can have this kind of news, the way they run this newspaper. It reminds me of before Elon got to X, the way that they were running Twitter, and the place was basically a big playground for overgrown children. And so anyway, let's check this out.
Jeff Bezos is coming under a lot of criticism for mismanagement of the Washington Post. Today, the Post laid off about 1 in 3 staffers across the newsroom and the business side of the operation. These are the most severe cuts we've seen in the 13 years since Bezos bought the publication. Bezos apparently wants to return the Post to profitability after years of losses, millions of dollars of losses. But journalists at the paper say he's doing it all wrong. They say you can't cut your way to growth. And they are increasingly questioning Bezos' motives, saying he might be trying to curry favor with President Trump and the Trump administration.
Truth be told, I saw this horrible day for the Washington Post coming. a day when a third of its staff was let go and its standing as a pillar of American journalism was annihilated. There was so much hope when Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post from the revered Graham family in 2013. I was at his first town hall after his $250 million purchase. You could feel the relief from the nervous journalists in the room when Bezos promised to give the paper the resources it needed to rebuild.
You notice how
and he kept his promise,
making this sound
just
like
in
it's
time for the paper to
some
be
epic
running at
fucking
full
tale.
speed while covering Donald Trump's first presidency. But over the ensuing years, things happened. The paper lost money. Will Lewis, the new publisher with legal issues hanging over his head, hired by Bezos, promptly antagonized the newsroom. The owner killed a presidential endorsement.
Oh.
Then Trump got elected again.
That's, if you ask me, that's what this really is about. Probably, like as far as the hostility, the decision not to endorse Kamala Harris before the last election. I don't know how they think that would have actually helped. Do they think that would have actually got her elected? Because it's kind of more of a wipeout. I don't think that would have really done much. But even if you think it would have done anything, you think it would have changed the results? A Washington Post endorsement. I mean, maybe they are delusional enough to believe that, but I mean, I just, that, wow. Anyway, let's let this weirdo keep going.
The owner sacked the opinion editor and replaced him with a vassal who would go along with the personal liberties and free markets ethos Bezos wanted the section to adopt. The buyout offers to everyone in the section came, me included.
So yesterday, I was one of the hundreds of journalists laid off by the Washington Post. My job was covering Latino communities.
Okay.
To a certain
So we have a section of the paper devoted to Latino communities. Why? Is that really? I mean, nothing to rag on Latinos. I'm not trying to rag on Latinos. It's just like a section of the newspaper, a national newspaper, just specifically only about Latinos. Do you have a section dedicated to Italians or to I don't know, Russians or China or Chinese, Asian American of any kind, or why why is that a section of the Washington Post? It just seems ridiculous. It's like, and call me crazy, but if you're trying to cut back on, sections of the paper, wouldn't you start with sections that really make no sense? Because that seems like that would just be regular news. If there's something newsworthy going on with the Latino community, then you'd put it in the news sections of the newspaper. Anyway. So
I did a lot of what I hoped to do there. I did things I was proud of over the years. I wrote about colorism in the Latino community.
Colorism?
I spoke to detainees at Alligator Alcatraz.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
And I wrote about how Latinos changed their habits during the immigration crackdown.
It was insane. Here we go. Waking up. So this was...
It's a really sad
I forgot.
day,
That was...
actually, for journalism.
Jeff
Bezos, owner of Amazon, owner also of the Washington Post,
meant to cut it.
Has gutted the Washington Post, frankly. He's laid off 300 journalists. He has done it at a time that he's spending millions and millions of pounds on a kind of puff-piece documentary about Melania Trump. If you look at the state of the world, I personally think it is really troubling when we see these kind of moves in journalism, particularly, you have reports of people reporting in Ukraine and being told that they've been fired. The motto of the Washington Post is democracy dies in darkness. Honestly, I think that journalism is at a crunch point at the minute, and there is a risk of democracy dying in darkness if this trend continues.
Now yeah. See, and this is the propaganda, and that's a game. But I mean, it's getting so blatantly obvious, and it's not even a secret anymore that people need to keep or anything like that. I didn't even have that comeback on. There we go. There we go. We only saw him once. We only need to see him one time. We don't need to see him again. Just for now, anyway. But sorry, I still had that queued up. But anyway, I even had that queued up on accident. I don't need the lower third to come in during every scene. But anyway, I thought that was really unusual for a number of reasons, and it's kind of like what is with the sort of what is with the culture around the newspapers and broadcast news, and why is it becoming so much more? I mean, it's not working. We've seen the numbers for CNN now, and they've come out, and it's like, yeah, we get it. We know your one trick sort of attitude towards how to handle a point in time when you're losing viewers or losing subscribers or losing eyeballs in any way. Well, we just go and attack Trump some more. It's like, it's not working anymore. You know, that trick, we've seen it. We've already, we lived through it. We watched it. We suffered through the whole thing. Trump and Russia. And Patrick Bet David was interviewing somebody not too long ago, or talking to somebody not too long ago, that was going through the usual grievances about Trump and freaking kind of had to break a bit of reality to these people that here's the problem with what's going on with you guys right now, and it's not that anything's changed with Trump. He's the same as he's ever been. It's not that anything's changed with the American people. They still kind of are more or less believing what they're able to see. Unfortunately, and it's hard to even rely on polls anymore because people believe what they hear until they see something different. And I think that the way that this presidency has gone, it has been so strongly condemned, like right from the get-go. And anytime something comes up that even slightly looks like that sort of doomsday appearance that they've been talking about, then it's immediately, oh, I knew it. They're going to be doing this evil fascistic stuff. And then meanwhile, something happens, and then you recognize that, oh no, they're not doing that. And then the opinion goes back the other way. And I think one of the strongest examples of that is the whole tariffs. And I think one of the biggest things to say about that is, I think it was really ridiculous. I can't stand this. I think this was dumb. And it was one of the worst ways to handle the whole meeting. But Pam Bondi, and I've been no fan of Pam Bondi since the administration, and I've gone back time and time again and been like, oh man, it's such a shame that Matt Gaetz couldn't have gotten that position. However, there were still other people that could have been, but it was really kind of that was pretty much solidified after this last hearing in front of the House Judiciary Committee, where she over and over again was talking about the Dow, and it's like the Dow is over this amount. I was like, okay, even if that is something to refute the Democrats because they are stupid as hell, and the economy was basically given to Trump in a state where it was like, here's a mess, you clean it up, and good luck. But he didn't look at it as something that was insurmountable. He looked at it as something he could pull off. And I can't say that I don't get how people are still holding the opinion that the tariffs are screwing up our economy and everything is still just completely unaffordable, and the prices are still rising, inflation's still out of control. It's like, okay, first of all, no. I don't know what you're looking at, but I've been paying. The other day I went to the grocery store and I bought my usual amount of stuff that I buy. It's usually, kind of a modest amount of stuff, not anything huge, but it's usually a pretty standard bill that I know I'm going to be getting for the amount of money it's going to cost. It's usually like around $50 or so. And this time I went, it was like altogether $35. I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't believe it. And I was like, wait a minute. Because this happened to me a couple of times. Gas station, grocery store, some of the other, places I might end up going looking for something. And I'm sitting here going, how the hell is it that this is happening? People are still, there's still nobody noticing, still nobody actually talking about it. Maybe, it can't just be that it's just this state, because this is California. Like I said, this state has taxes on taxes, it's like, it's insane how many extra things you have to pay for. And if you're a smoker, it's even worse. So that sucks. But, when I'm looking at this bill, I'm like, how is it possible that we still have a media that's talking about inflation like it's out of control? At the bare minimum, you can't say it's gotten worse. There's no way you can say it's gotten worse, even if it's around the country, it's about the same as it is here, or even a little bit worse than it is here. There's no way in hell that anything's gotten worse than it was under Biden. There's no way. There's not a chance in hell. And yet you got the media just constantly trying to pound it in people's heads that the tariffs are going to lead to complete unaffordability. Is going to be. Now, I will say in one area, and that is the housing market. I don't know what they're doing right now. I know housing's still way too expensive, especially if you're somebody looking to buy a home for the first time. First time home buying is still really ridiculous, and that's mostly because of interest. But that's the point, is that this more than anything has to do with the Federal Reserve. That's why Trump wants to replace the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell. He's been hesitant as hell to lower inflation rates, and mind you, once again, the inflation is completely controlled by the Fed. Fed completely controls the inflation rate. But if you look at not Obama, I was about to say, Biden administration, and that's probably pretty accurate to call it the old Biden administration, because that probably was what it was. But regardless, the point is that we have a period in time in the Biden administration when inflation was hit like 9 or something. And that is so ridiculously high. Like I don't know if we hit that rate even during the housing crisis in 2008, 2009. Like, I don't know if we made it that high even then. And then, we have this administration that comes in. They not only flood the country with stimulus money, but then they lay off a ton of employees, and they start threatening that it's going to be a policy they enact on every job, even private sector jobs, that any company that hires more than 100 employees, you're going to have everybody tested and vaccinated, or they're going to lose their job, or you're going to have to pay a fine, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, number one, that was incredibly anti-America. But number two, that's going to drastically destroy your economy. And Trump puts in some tariffs, which he did in the first administration, albeit not to the same level he did this time. But even if the standard way of thinking about tariffs is that they're inflationary, don't you want to sit back and watch the results before they happen, considering that this is kind of unprecedented for a president in this century, really, to use tariffs to this degree? And sure enough, it's like, and then they want to accuse him of being the one to chicken out when a country decides, no, we want to renegotiate. Like, that's exactly what the point was, to get countries to renegotiate their tariffs on the United States. It had nothing to do with a plan to really gain a bunch of money from tariffs on a bunch of other countries. It was to make sure that the United States wasn't having to pay a shit ton of tariff money to all these other countries that had tariffs on us. They had tariffs on us for decades, and it's like, why? Why just this? Why are we the only ones that are expected to always pay for these sorts of things? And I think that more than anything else, the tariffs were meant to get these countries to the negotiating table to figure out how we're going to get rid of the tariffs that were punishing us. And until then, we're going to put a tariff on you. and that was the plan. It seems like it's working pretty good now, and I don't understand. I can understand if you're not able to, get fully back on your feet financially quite yet, but it seems like since the start of this year, and people are saying, whoever has been really paying attention to the uh, the big beautiful bill and the especially the financial side of the policies that they were enacting there, that number one, your your tax return this year is going to be like 11% more than it was in previous year. But um, the other thing is that it really will be in the second quarter to maybe the early third quarter this year when you really start feeling the effects of the financial benefits of the big beautiful bill. And they're all like, as far as the benefits, like where they're going to be most felt the strongest, it's in blue collar America. So hopefully, hopefully that's not a exaggeration, but I would say all the signs up until now, I mean, I can't see them looking bad, and yet it, honestly, to me, it just seems like it's just more hypocrisy, more gaslighting, and more attempts to just derail the administration. And then they're going to be like, well, well, I don't want that to happen. I'm going to vote in midterms for the Democrats, and then you get gonna get the price turn around and be like, oh wow, they're actually right. They are getting this really uh, better tax policy passed. That's great, awesome. And uh, then they're gonna end up coming around to the next Congress and realize, oh wow, they're really kind of blocking him from passing anything. And they're, oh look, a new impeachment. Like, yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. Like, there's only one reason, and mark my words on this. If there's one thing you got to watch for, it's going to be the insane, ridiculous levels of uh the the levels that the Congress is going to be going after anything and everything they can to put pressure on the American people to believe, like, oh, this is true, oh, that's true, oh, we need to run hearings for this and for that, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to be blocking anything that's going to be legislation that comes in that's going to be favoring Republican, policies of any kind, and they're going to hold those up. They're going to, I mean, it's going to be like that's what I've said this over and over again. They want. There's nothing they want more than the House and the Senate to flip, because they can. That would mean probably impeachment, but even if they only get one, they're going to spend all that time. And with the way that I mean, Abigail Spanberger has turned out to be a nightmare, like exactly the wrong kind of candidate and the wrong kind of politician to have in a state like Pennsylvania. And it's Pennsylvania, right? I think it's Pennsylvania, because no, Virginia. Wait, is it? Jeez, what's the state? Man, I forgot. Glenn Youngkin was the former governor, and now, yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, it's Virginia, right? Or is it? Man, why can't I think of that? You know what? I'm gonna look it up right now because it's gonna bug me if I don't. Hold on, let me just make sure I know what I'm talking about, because um, yeah, Virginia. Yeah, Virginia. Okay, I was right. Right the second time. Uh, but yeah, when you look at the way that they just, I mean, oh geez, the whole redistricting thing, and doing it as a response to Greg Abbott in Texas. Because here's the thing. Um, if there is a party that would be highlighted as particularly good and particularly particularly able to really be effective at redistricting by gerrymandering their state to completely favor the Democrat Party, one party or another. It'd be the Democratic Party definitely over the Republicans, because when you look at some of the blue states, the really, really deep blue states, and you look at the lines that are drawn for counties in those states, they're a joke. They're an absolute joke. No one would look at the way that lines are drawn in those states and think that this is just some natural way that there's anything at all at play here other than how do we maximize the amount of seats we can get for Democrats by drawing the lines in certain ways. And it's just it's incredible, because when you look at states that are red, you don't see that same pattern in the slightest. And even in Texas, where they just redrew the lines, there was a county that went Democrat for the first time in a long time. And people were wondering how that happened. Well, it's because they didn't draw their lines to gerrymander them for Republicans. And yet, because they redrew the lines, because they redrew them at all, oh, we've got to fight back. We got to pass legislation in this blue state and that blue state to make sure that we have new lines that are going to favor the opposing party. And it's like, okay, there's one state that redrew the lines because they were a mess. And yeah, it was during a year where we didn't do the census, but to be honest, that kind of thing is too important, and especially when we just had, 15 to 20,000 illegals come into the country and be shipped all over the place and change the populations of tons of states. And let's not forget, the Democrats are expecting that those people are going to vote. That's what they want. That's what they want. And not only vote, but to change the demographic lines and even potentially change the number of senators and potentially even electoral votes that are going to be allocated to each state. And it's mind-blowing because of the fact that, okay, here we go. Here's where the new lines are. And you look at the way that they're being drawn. And once again, a lot of these, when they're not heavily blue states, but they got extremely blue capital cities, or the biggest districts are all blue districts and they're deep blue, like Illinois is a great example. JB Pritzker, son of a bitch that he is, the state's gerrymandered already. California's gerrymandered already. They're already squeezing the states for the biggest amount of Republican or Democrat votes that they can get. But then you look at somewhere like Virginia, where it's not particularly gerrymandered like crazy there, and you see what they're doing there to try and ensure that they get the most vote. And they're projecting that, at this point, they're going to go from about a state that's about 50-50 to a state where now the representation in Congress is going to go from like, I can't remember the number of senators. It's like 12 or 13 or something like that. They're going to go from 7 to 5 to 10 to 2. It's like they're really good, and that's what they're trying to do there. That's what they're trying to do in Illinois. It is so disgusting how and it's just all in reaction to Greg Abbott and to Texas doing it to actually redraw the lines. And when you look at what they did and how their lines are drawn now, it's like, okay, that looks about as honest and straightforward as you could possibly draw lines. And then you go into the territory, into the Democrat territories, and you're like, okay, that's something. That's something, all right. It's just, and it makes me so fucking pissed, because it's like, you guys really are completely and totally just like unashamedly willing to do something that is blatantly obviously done to favor Democrats as much as possible. And when questioned about it, it's like, well, if Texas hadn't started this fight, then we wouldn't be having it. Texas didn't start shit. Texas was trying to fix its districts, and you go in and you freaking make it this big partisan fight. It's like, that wasn't what they did at all. But That's the problem. It's not about that anything other than an opportunity. Oh, it's an opportunity for us to redraw the lines where we really want to redraw them here and there and and if they can get a state flip that, not even necessarily for a presidential election, but just for the midterm votes, just for the senatorial votes and the House of Representatives, we can get enough representation there. Then, we can block all these executive orders, and we can pass legislation for this and that. And that. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. Well, let's enjoy a bunch more years of impeachment and Russian interference and blah 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 blah. So anyway, so let me finally I'll get to the last thing. I guess we'll finally get to this. As I've said before, there's a couple guys that really piss me off, and you guys know this one. I've talked about him a couple times before, and I'm going to talk about him again. Kyle Kuklinski. I've noticed this too. This is really interesting. Kyle and David Packman and a bunch of other people on the left now. What's that dumbass's name that's always on Piers Morgan? Jeez. Brian Tyler Cohen. That guy. I was like, what is with these lefty guys that are all obsessed with calling people cucks now? I thought that was their thing. Like, I thought the polyamory and all that other weird shit, that was like Democrat shit, right? And I don't know, maybe it's because they're, I don't know, maybe they're insecure as hell. I've found reason to believe why, like, take another little scumbag, Destiny, for example, like that little queef, which, by the way, that's been my new name for Kyle. Maybe I shouldn't give that to Destiny because he deserves his own. He doesn't deserve it, but he should get his own sort of moniker. But because Kyle the Queef they just kind of rolls off the tongue pretty well. But there's been some weird happenings with Destiny lately. Like, he's been trying to go around and like sort of pick fights with people randomly. It's very bizarre. And just insert himself into a conversation that's not about him really much at all, and maybe mention his name. Like, a lot of people, especially when it comes to Andrew Wilson, a lot of people have been trying to call him out and basically do it in a way that's like, I'm going to cover his videos and rebut his points, and they always just fall flat on their face at some point in the video. It just makes them sound completely ridiculous, and Destiny definitely fits into that camp. Although I will say that I'm appalled to hear that this new round of Destiny spurging. I can explain that now because I get it. There's more than him just having his wife ditch him and go to Sweden to get with this dude that banged her while they were in an open marriage, and okay, yeah, because she wasn't the only one screwing around, and it is. Oh man, oh boy, there's some respect that has been lost. I will say that much. But and it's because regardless of Destiny being Destiny, and him being a complete and total fucking spurg for the left, and I mean like retardation levels of spurg for the Democrat Party. People like David Packman, Sam Cedar, and of course Kyle Kulinski, the queef himself. They are the same, but even dumber. Like, it's surprising, but they have no arguments. They have no real concept of. They don't understand the laws. They don't understand the country. They don't understand American culture. They don't know really much about what they're talking about. They never listen to arguments from right wingers. So they really end up just screaming out into the ether all of their grievances whenever they're online to their audiences of sycophants that will follow them to the ends of the earth for whatever reason. I don't know who in the hell it is that would follow a guy like Kyle Kulinski, who, just being honest here, if you're a guy and you watch Kyle and you have any sort of aspiration to be anything like that fucking loser, I mean, oh man, that's kind of telling. But Anyway, I mean, I can't say enough bad things about the guy, but in this particular video, I think this going back to Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson was on Joe Rogan not too long ago. It caused a stir from people on the left that got all pissy, and a bunch of them reacted, including Destiny and including Kyle Kalinske. The deal with Kyle Kalinske that's interesting is that he'd been on Joe Rogan several times before. I'm kind of surprised that Joe was able to relate enough to a guy like Kyle, who's nothing at all like a Joe Rogan in any way, shape, or form. I mean, like almost, I would say, polar opposite, except for maybe Destiny, because he's so small that even physically speaking, in terms of height and body mass, we're talking about such a massive difference. Like it maybe that is a little bit more, but even so, the thing that is really kind of grotesque is the way that they categorize Joe Rogan still as this hardcore right winger. It's like, okay, first of all, no, Joe's never been right wing. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter for most of his life. He was following Trump in this last election, but it was because of the fact that pretty much all the goodwill that the Democrats ever had was pretty much removed in the last election. Even people that don't like Trump at all, a lot of them even voted for him just because they couldn't stand the idea of a Harris administration. And no, not because they're sexist, not because they hate the women's, but because they actually were like, no, this lady is nuts, and she cannot be the commander-in-chief of the United States. There's no way. We won't. I don't know if we'll survive. And, if things were to bear out in a way that would have seen that come to fruition, I have no doubt that, can you imagine like Xi Jinping watching this video of Kamala Harris and be like, wait, this is our opposition? Like, they would have had it would have been a fucking field day for countries that were our adversaries. But anyway, so going back to this, it's like Kyle's watching this, and if you ask me, it's like, first off, Kyle can't stand the fact that Joe's bringing on right wingers, and there are some theories. This is actually a Tim Pool video as he's kind of reacting to it, and I couldn't help but include it because Tim Pool does make some observations that are pretty good. But one thing he does bring up, I'll probably go into detail more when we get there, but the reasons why Kyle would be making a video trashing Joe for this instead of just contacting Joe and saying, hey, you got Andrew Wilson on. You guys talked about this, and I disagree. You want to have me on, and we could talk about this, or we could just talk about it right now if you want, whatever. But obviously, Kyle doesn't want that, and obviously, Kyle doesn't just want to be on Joe Rogan. No, because that's not the point. The point is, Joe Rogan, biggest podcast in the world. There's no doubt about it. And the reason is because it's, while there may be people who are political on, there may be people from all ends of the political spectrum on the show. Joe himself is a guy who's not there to just talk about politics. He's there to ask questions. He's interested in having a literal conversation with people he finds interesting. He said that since day one. That's his whole agenda. And he has his own political beliefs, of course. I hate the fact that so many people come on and misinform him about all kinds of things, and they're not things that you would be able to kind of just have feelings about to know what's true and what's not. You have to actually know facts to. And when people mislead him and tell him things that are absolutely false and provably false, but they tell him that anyway, and he kind of reaches a conclusion based on that false information, it's really disheartening. But he does usually kind of come and find out later that no, that was total bullshit. But here's the thing: is that Kyle doesn't want any right wingers ever on Joe Rogan. Kyle wants Joe Rogan to be like every other show that he would entertain. Only left wing politics all of the time, no matter what the subject. Period. You don't entertain right wingers. You don't entertain right wing perspectives. You don't talk to them unless it's in the form of opposing them. Like, that's Kyle Kalinsky's world. There's no room for for the opposition. There's no room for entertaining the opposing party's perspective. It's too important. There's absolutely no reason for it. So anyway, because I can't stand when people are sort of projecting their own sort of values on somebody else, and they really do, like, I spend a good amount of time watching videos that have nothing to do with politics. Hell, me and MLA play games all the time. I'm watching a lot of freaking gaming videos, fighting game tournaments. I'm a nerd. I've told you guys before. I like watching all kinds of nerdy stuff. But there's definitely, a place for politics to watch and to be involved in. And I'm very much also a nerd when it comes to that. Like I've said, I'll sit around watching a couple hours of Congress testimony. But Kyle, no, absolutely not. No, because we're in a war with the other side. And this is, to anybody out there that wonders why the country is so divided, why there can't be policy that's more it's more representative of the country, and it's always so partisan. It's because you have a group of people who've decided that the other party are not just opposition, they're evil. Everything they want to do with the country is so destructive that it's going to ruin the entire country forever, and they're going to bring back slavery, and they're like, it's really ridiculous stuff. But and a lot of times they don't even believe it. They're just telling their audience. But in the case of a guy like Kyle, I think he's dumb enough to actually believe some of this shit. But anyway, we could psychoanalyze this video because, quite honestly, there is a lot going on here, and it's pretty fucking. I mean, if I actually thought Kyle was a human being with actual feelings, I might kind of feel sad about it. But because I know he's a leftist shill and has no real opinions of his own, I'm not really as bothered by it. But anyway, let's go over this because this was the other thing, and then we'll wrap up. Because this is just, like I said, this is so representative of the typical Democrat sort of podcast or streamer, or everybody's favorite word, your typical Democrat influencer that's on their little, they're influencing and they're doing their little thing, and jeez, this is a quintessential version of that. And anyway, so I'll pull this up really quick. This guy never ceases to be completely full of shit, have no arguments that have any substance or any kind of connection to real events whatsoever. And you can tell his agenda is just to bury people he disagrees with. He's just a complete he's a complete fraud. He's a complete hack job. He's nothing but a smear artist, just like Cenk Uygur. It's like same people, but even more annoying. And is as fake as his tan, which we're also going to have pointed out by, it's interesting. Tim Pool is the kind of guy who, he's not like me. He doesn't want to see, man, where the hell did it go? Wait, it's under, oh no, it's under Tim Pool. That's why. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. No, I found it. Okay. So, yeah, he's had Kyle on his show before, and like I said, Kyle's been on Joe Rogan before, so he has a different sort of frame of reference for Kyle than I do, obviously. But I mean, I've watched this guy from the sidelines for a long time, and I just remember when he had an issue and Crowder wanted to debate him, and he absolutely refused to debate Crowder, not because he didn't want to debate him about the topic, but because he said he refused to platform a guy with such horrible views as Steven Crowder's. Like, well, don't you want to, prove the guy wrong who has these terrible views? It's like, no, he doesn't want to do that. That's the point. He's going to smear him like hell in a way that he's not going to get any pushback in that environment. He's going to dismiss him and his ideas as being so bad they're not even worth platforming. when the point is that he just has no real interest in doing it, and he knows for a fact that having him on is going to force him to confront some of his stupid ideas that absolutely do not hold up to scrutiny and can be disproved right there. And yet, God forbid you bring any of those up, because then he'd actually have to do something like think. And Kyle doesn't want to have to think. He wants to, react and angrily react to everything. He's also got this weird sort of new way of speaking. Something with crystal ball and that weird fucking relationship there too is another one. But anyway, let's go ahead and check this out. I'll try to blaze through this all the way through and not interrupt too much, because it's worth just listening and watching the train wreck. So here we go. Let's get this one going.
The reason why I find this so fascinating, seeing this video from Kyle, is that he is friends with Joe, or at least was. And this is why I tell you so much of everything is fake, right? Everything's fake. Everybody's fake. To some degree, I guess. I understand it's not true that everybody's fake. There are certainly some people that are trying their hardest to be truthful. But Kyle Kulinski has Joe's phone number. And at any point could have just texted Joe, and he could have been like, hey, Joe, let me come on the show and talk. And he didn't. He starts his video of just insulting Joe Rogan. It's not a point to be made, but I guess, is this what liberals are? Is it?
Yes.
I have people...
Actually, that's a good point. But once again, it was like I was just saying, and I didn't even remember that was the beginning of the show, but absolutely, yes, that is what liberals are. They are, this is what they do. There's no room for counterpoints. There's no room for arguments. There's no room for an opposing point of view, because then they'd have to actually defend some of the ridiculous perspectives that they try to bring up. And the real problem is that they try to present these things as self-evident. Like, that's why the trans thing is so freaking disgusting, because it's always like trans women are women. Well, why? It's like, well, because they are. What, are you a bigot? No, I just want to understand why you would say that when that's clearly not true. Well, obviously you want trans people to die then. You deny trans people exist. What the hell are you talking about? They just take these giant leaps because you disagree. It's like, hold on, no, that's not what I said. I think that I have some couple of areas where I think it's completely wrong. Like, for example, I don't know, having drag queen story hour for kids, I think that's kind of out of line. I also think that, the idea of biological men beating the shit out of women in sports is kind of bad too. And if you want to minimize it by saying, oh, it's not that many people, or oh, what's going to happen in some sport? I'll tell you what's going to happen in some sports. You see the girl who got the volleyball smashed into her face that basically fucking still gives her complications because of how hard she got hit in the head with a fucking volleyball. I mean, yeah, that's the difference in physiology. It's going to happen when you have any kind of, physically demanding sport where there's, a lot that can be determined based on the physical makeup of men and women and the difference between the two. Joe always talks about and this is one thing that he has definitely that's not something the left is too happy about, but he is such a fight fanatic that he obviously remembers a time period when this happened, when this woman, Fallon Fox, who used to be a man, started going in and fighting women. And, you could just watch, if you ever see these videos of these fights, they're not even fights, they're just beatings. There's a man just beating the shit out of a woman. I don't care if you fucking want to be transgender, but if you're going to say you're transgender and you're going to be a woman when you're biologically a man, and then you go on to fight MMA matches and the fights look like attempted homicide, then I think we have a little bit of a problem here. And Joe recognizes this, Joe sees this, and it's like, how dare you? How dare you? That she's a woman. Like, okay, the woman who used to be a man and just beat the shit out of this woman who was born a woman and has always been a woman, and that's somehow empowering to women. Like, what are we talking about here? So anyway, we'll go back to this now. That's the problem, is that he doesn't want to talk to Joe because Joe's talking right wingers now. That's how dare you?
Telling me I'm wrong about, like, here's an example. Like, we had Alad Eliyahu on Tim Castellari last night saying the Epstein files are a distraction and blah, blah, blah. Nasty's bad. And I defend Nasty and I say Trump was wrong on this one. I got no problem bragging on Trump. I don't care. I'm not playing any games. I'm not going to pander to right, left, up, down. I'm going to say what I actually think matters. And I think Kyle Kulinski and many of these liberals are embodiments of irrational anger and emotion.
Yeah.
So they're not logically assessing things. They're just self-gratifying through being angry. I'm going to play this video. Let's see what Kyle Kulinski says.
Yeah.
So as you all know, we've been covering the downfall of the Joe Rogan experience. And
the downfall?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yeah. Come on. Joe Rogan's show is big. What the political downfall?
It really hit full effect when he had on Donald Trump, gave him a hot stone massage, endorsed Donald Trump, also had on J.D. Vance. But more importantly, perhaps, when he had on like a new billionaire seemingly every other week, whether it be...
I want to just pause and let you guys recognize that, in fact, in 2019, when I went on the Joe Rogan show, he had on for the second time the same billionaire, Jack Dorsey. And he had on Zuckerberg as well. And he had on Elon Musk. And when he had on all these people, Kyle Kulinski was perfectly happy to call himself friends with Joe and appear on his show. So what changed? I'm telling you guys, I don't know.
I'll tell you what changed. Trump's president again, and Joe had him on the show. Doesn't matter that he extended the invitation to Kamala Harris, and she denied it, and that's why she wasn't on the show. It just matters that Trump took him up on it, and he had him on the show, and that helped out his campaign, and so he's definitely responsible for part of the blame for why Trump's president. That's what changed. That's what changed. Has nothing to do with Joe or anything like that. It has nothing to do with anything he's doing right now. It has to do with the fact that Kyle's butthurt that Joe entertains even a right-wing perspective at all. He's so fucking, he's like, that's heresy in Kyle's world. It's completely fucking out of the question to ever entertain a right-wing perspective, period. Especially from a billionaire. Oh my God, not a billionaire. Oh, geez, someone successful. Oh, gosh, no, absolutely not. Meanwhile, we all know what happened with Bernie and the millionaires and billionaires, and then suddenly it's just billionaires. And because why is that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Bernie became a millionaire. So now we just got to tax the billionaires only.
Kyle looks like, it's his crystal ball, too. They've become just balls of anger.
That's what I was going to say, too.
Like,
it's like
there's
he works
no,
himself
hey,
up
Joe, why don't we sit down and talk? It's literally just him going on his channel and screaming into the wind.
Mark Andreessen or Peter Thiel or Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. He had on so many.
And Bernie Sanders, I think more than once.
These billionaire assholes. And what they would do is lie to Joe's audience, knowing he has this giant audience, somewhat impressionable audience. So they go up there, and one thing I remember specifically is they lied about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Oh, God.
And they pretended like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was responsible for debanking, okay? When literally it's the opposite. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau protects people from debanking, but also they stop financial fraud.
Homeboy could be looking at being like, hey,
because we all know that, government agencies do exactly what they're supposed to do and their title entails them to do, right? Like, they never step outside those boundaries. Oh, of course not. No. Consumer Protection Bureau, they wouldn't do anything. Motherfucker, every single government agency is, to some degree, bloated because they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they make too much money because they're not stopping fraud and because they're not doing what their original purpose was. But in Kyle's world, because it's a government agency, it's well, of course they're standing up for the population. That's exactly what we're doing. That's what we have them for. Like, yeah, of course, yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what the same thing with USAID, right? They're helping the American people by funding Sesame Street in fucking Iraq. That's really helping the United States out. And just fuck off, man. Jesus Christ.
I'm going to make fun of Joe Rogan and get paid $5,000. Like, that's what I see with Kyle Kulinski. He is being angry, not to actually criticize Joe. He is being angry so that people who know Joe's name will see the name Joe Rogan in the title, they'll click it, and then hear someone complain. Because Joe's wrong.
And just in case you're concerned to hear, about my reasoning, I really think Kyle Kulinski's a fucking asshole. I'm not doing this as an act. I think he's a fucking moron. So just so we clear that up, there's no confusion. The guy's a douche, a dumbass, and a fucking moron. And so, yeah, there's no fake opinions there. Just so we're clear.
A lot, and that was always okay. When I see Joe comment on stuff and he's wrong, what do? I tweet like, I think Joe's wrong about this. That's it. Joe is a tremendously good dude. He is a tremendously honorable and loyal guy, and he's entitled to do whatever he wants with his life and time. And he is not certainly infallible. Kyle Kulinski, again, this is not so much about Joe. I know it kind of is. He's a disloyal. You know what, man? This is what the left is all about, okay? No honor.
They stop big banks from taking advantage of regular people. They hold Wall Street in check. Basically,
so he was wrong.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the best way to describe them is the corporate cops. They're the only cop looking out for you to make sure big financial institutions don't screw you and rob you blind.
They're the only ones.
So you got all these billionaires coming on. They bitch and moan about the CFPB. Why? Because they're committing fraud and they want to get away with it. And Joe Rogan sits there and lets them lie to his audience of millions and sits there and goes, really, bro?
How about those?
That's wild, bro.
Oh, and here we go with this.
Oh, the CFPB, I guess that's bad, right, bro? And so it was that.
Did Kyle start getting spray tans and bleach his hair? It's just a weird trend. Can I find a picture of this guy before he went nuts? I'm gonna do that.
This is
when
funny.
was this?
This is
Kyle
funny.
Kulinski.
Look
Joe
at
Rogan
this side by side when he
Experience.
pulls this up.
This is 3 years ago. He was on this guy's show.
Oh, it's only the small.
Kyle Kulinski. Let's. He used to look normal. Let's. I'm gonna grab. Wait, he's on it, man. Bro, Joe had this guy on so many times. It's wild. So many times. I don't even understand it, dude. I don't even understand it.
You look at it and you go, oh my God, you are so cooked. You are just gonzo mentally. You're a useful idiot for MAGA fascists. That's what you are. You're a useful idiot for the billionaire robber baron sadist class. Well, now it's fair to say the Joe Rogan experience has morphed into the Jeffrey Epstein experience.
He's been on 4 or 5 times on Joe's show over years. Kyle Kulinski, episode 1187. That's 7 or 8 years ago. I don't understand this.
While Joe himself rejected a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein to his credit, as we learned when Lawrence Krauss, a guest on his show, tried to get Joe to meet Epstein and he refused. What people don't tell you is, but he had on Jeffrey Epstein's private motherfucking chef.
That's what he looked like before.
Never mind all the billionaires.
Now Kyle is orange.
And he's orange, and he's going on and on about how Joe had Jeffrey Epstein's chef on. What does that prove? Or what does that mean? That that his chef is in on something? It's what the fuck are you saying? This is so fucking stupid. These are the complaints. These are the complaints. He had Jeffrey Epstein's chef on. Oh no, not his chef. Oh God, anything but his chef. Oh my God, that's a red flag right there. The fuck, dude?
With bleach blonde hair. I mean, hey, look, I'm gonna say this. At least I am what I've always
catch him
been.
with
My
the
weight
sunglasses.
fluctuates, but Kyle.
Who are in the files. Never mind Donald Trump, who's literally mentioned more in the files than anybody else. 38,000 times.
And why do you think that fucking is, Kyle? Why do you think that is? You think that might have something to do with the fact that he hated the guy? You think that might have something to do with the fact that he blamed Donald Trump primarily for being the one to go to the fucking FBI to rat on his ass and get his ass fucking under surveillance? And ultimately lead to his downfall? You think that might have fucking something to do with it, Kyle? Because you said it yourself. Oh, he mentioned him the most. He mentioned him more than anybody else. Why would he mention him above anybody else? Because he's best buds with him? Because he really thinks he's going to be able to, make something work with him? Because he's got big plans for him and Trump? No. You don't want to know what my proof is? Who was he talking to? It was a hearing in Congress, and they had a witness there to help ruin Donald Trump's credibility. Who was? That's right, it was Stacey fucking Plaskett from your party. You know, the bitch from the Virgin Islands who decided to be texting Jeffrey Epstein in the middle of the fucking hearing to be asking, what kind of question should I ask? What would be a good person to ask about who would ruin Donald Trump's credibility the most? So he's literally talking to members of Congress about how to ruin the guy. And you want to mention because his name appears in the files 38,000 times. Yeah, because he hated the fucking guy. I can't stand the liberals that are fucking trying to use this as a cudgel. Like it says something about Donald Trump's personality and how sadistic and evil he was, and there's definitely connection there. There's definitely, well, yeah, there is a connection. It's adversarial as hell. And Donald Trump went to the fuck. Once again, it was reiterated. It was even iterated by a guy who freaking worked for the FBI and said that, yeah, basically he was one of the first people to really tip us off that this guy was a creep. Yeah, that might have something to do with it. Might have something to do with the fact that when he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and he went to the feds, and the feds basically were looking for people to testify, Donald Trump was the first one to raise his hand, the only one to raise his hand by basically, free will alone, no pressure, nothing at all coerced. He came in voluntarily. He said, if you need anything, any information from me, you can let me know, and I'll give you whatever you want to know. The only one who didn't have to be subpoenaed to come in and testify against Jeffrey Epstein. The only one. And you're going to be trying to use that against him. His name appears in the files X amount of times. Yeah, that's really inconvenient. It's really inconvenient for a guy who fucking flipped on him and was the first one to tell the FBI, hey, you got a problem here. Fuck off with that shit, man. It's fucking getting so old and ridiculous. I can't stand this fucking line. It's just, ugh. That one in particular, I'm sorry, but that one in particular really gets under my skin because I hear this mentioned fucking everywhere. Fucking everywhere. And I don't get what the hell it is that gives these fucking morons the hope that, well, maybe if I just pound this into people's heads enough, they'll believe it. It's definitely, there's a connection there. They definitely were together. Maybe you need to just accept that this is just like your stupid fucking Russiagate shit all over again. Except this time it's even worse because you're dragging kids into it. Meanwhile, hey, Kyle, how about the, 300,000 children or more that were brought in by your past president that you love so much, and no one knows where they are? Because they probably are being sex trafficked and labor trafficked all over the country, and you couldn't give a damn about any of them. Don't give one fucking rat's ass about the kids that are being sex trafficked across the United States by drug cartels, by Mexican gangs, by fucking all these fucking people that were let into the country illegally. And no problem, just letting that slide past like it never happened. Oh, we don't care about those kids. We care so much about the people abused by Epstein. Oh, Epstein, he's so evil. Epstein. It's like, forget protecting another generation of kids that are going to be abused and hurt and tortured and possibly killed by these sadistic, evil people. You know, they're just a casualty of the fact that we need to, we need to make sure that we let in more. I mean, we're a country made of immigrants, of course, and it's like, just like seriously, fuck directly off, go straight to hell, take your little fucking wench with you, and fucking kiss my ass. Because not one among you, not one fucking Democrat gives two shits about kids. They don't care about victims of sexual assault. They don't care about child victims. They don't give a shit about any of that. Because when Tom Homan goes into to Minnesota, to Minneapolis, and has Jacob Fry and the local fucking officials all getting their panties in a bunch, because of the fucking fact that, oh, we can't let ICE in here. They're going to be bringing around innocent people, and unmarked vans are going to come around with a bunch of masked men and unidentified. By the way, here was something I was going to mention earlier. This whole unmarked vans bullshit. I know it fits the picture pretty well. You know, the abductor who's driving around in the unmarked panel van. You ever notice how pretty much every ICE operation has a bunch of SUVs in it? Bunch of SUVs with the ICE agents that all wearing vests that say ICE on them. So they are wearing identification. They're not in unmarked vans. I heard this skit the other day. It was funny as hell. It's like they're talking about this. Like, I know the allure of using the unmarked vans comment is so persuasive, but they're not unmarked vans. They're SUVs. They're not freaking people that are unidentifiable. They're wearing vests that literally say ICE on them, and they are masked. Yeah, you know why? Because you motherfuckers are calling up after you dox them and get their wife's address, wife's freaking church address, and their kid's school, and showing up there and protesting there and getting people freaked out at every place that their whole family attends. Their parents, their children, their brothers and sisters, their whole family. That's who they go after, Kyle. Maybe that's why they're wearing masks. And this is off subject slightly, but once again, when it has to do with Epstein shit, it's like, once again, didn't stop for 5 minutes to congratulate Tom Homan and ICE for saving the over 300 kids who are being sex trafficked across the United States because of his bullshit fucking open border policy. And yet he wants to go on and on and on and on and on about Epstein. Oh, this is Epstein. And once again, like, if I thought he or anybody else in the party cared at all about the victims of sex trafficking or Epstein's victims, any victims at all, I wouldn't have this complaint. There's a reason, though. There's a very specific reason why they separate the victims of Epstein, and only do it in such a way to constantly be bashing the administration. Has nothing to do with the victims. Nothing at all. The only reason they focus on that so much is because they're looking for names, and they're hoping that they'll find somebody directly connected to the administration or in the Congress on the right that they can use as a poster for, like, oh, see, there's somebody on the right who's in the Epstein file. There's definitely like it's time to just let that ship sail. If whoever's in it, right or left, I don't care. You know, like I said, do whatever you gotta do. Cut off their dicks, throw them in prison for the rest of their life, and throw away the key. I don't care. They all deserve it. But this fucking fixation with Trump, that somehow he's in the files when every single bit of evidence from the files themselves to Virginia Dufresne to every victim that has ever testified or spoke in front of anybody who ever was interviewing them has never said one time there was anything suspicious about Trump, or they ever saw Trump do anything at all like they've seen other people do. And yet they just can't let it go. Meanwhile, all the kids that were let in during the last administration, they never mentioned once. Because they don't care. They're not principled. They don't have any fucking serious concern about children who are sex trafficked. They're just looking for a fucking cudgel to bash Donald Trump. It's always to bash Donald Trump. Anyway, that's my serious. I'm sorry. That is my pet peeve, and I can't fucking stand it. Anyway, continue, jackass. Jesus.
So now we have the Jeffrey Epstein experience. It's not the Joe Rogan experience. And he is panicking, and he's desperately trying to run cover for both Trump
he isn't.
and Epstein
he
in this
worked himself
pathetic
up into
display.
this? Yeah.
So shout out to the YouTube channel, Too Lazy to Try. They do a lot of great work over there covering the Rogan sphere. And Epstein, I was going to say Epstein had on Mike Benz. No, Joe Rogan had on Mike Benz. But basically, this guy, while he pitches himself as like this, I'm this anti-establishment outsider, truth teller journalist. Really, he's just there to run cover for the Epstein class.
Oh,
and so watch this. This is crazy.
That's a very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
Underage people. No, little girls, children, not underage people. Would you say, oh, he's an overage toddler? No, you wouldn't say that. Notice the softening of the language because he's protecting the Epstein class.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, he's protecting the Epstein class. So he used a word that was offhand that he probably didn't think twice about. Underage people, because by the way, I don't know if you know this, Kyle, but it is not uncommon for people who are attracted, what's your political persuasion, that group of people might label as MAP or a minor attracted person, once again, softening the language. Instead of calling him a pedo, you want to call him minor attracted person? Because you fucking nut jobs have decided every single person under the sun is... It's not bum, it's not homeless, they're the unhoused. What group of people is it that wants to change language for everything to soften it up and make it seem so much less... once again, I mean, the best example is illegal alien. Oh, that's... what, you think they're not human? Yeah, I know they're human. They don't belong in the country, and every single document we have that states the law refers to them that way. So, sorry, this is not liberal utopia, but yeah, that's what they're called. Live with it. Deal with it, fucking asshole. We can't all just abide by your fucking newspeak and your goddamn thought police problems that are going to be the way you're going to... Once again, the idea that he would use this is the big smoking gun that Joe said... Oh, my point was that sometimes they like boys too when they're attracted to the minor attracted people that you're so quick to label as MAPs now. Sometimes they also like the little boys too, not just the little girls. So maybe Joe's referencing it like that because that's kind of common. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was all girls. I don't know. But it sure as hell isn't, because he's softening the language to make it easier to digest for the right wing or whatever the fuck it is you're suggesting. This is just fucking... I mean, the guy he has on is this guy that looks into conspiracies a lot. I mean, I'm guessing he's going to need to take a deep look into you and your fucking absolutely retarded fucking perspectives, because this shit and this level of hostility is not normal. This is fucking insanity. To have against Joe Rogan of all people, a guy who has such a moderate take on everything. He's never really antagonistic to anybody that's ever on the show. He's had your stupid ass on 4 times. And yet, I'm going to bash the hell out of him because he's not using my language. He's not talking about my candidates. He's not talking about my party. He's not talking about the people I want to be elected. It's like, get the fuck over yourself, dude. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I've been saying that way too much. I'm sorry. This guy makes me sick. This is why I always talk about this son of a bitch the way that I do, because listen to how fucking divisive the vitriol in his statements. It's insane.
No, he's not, dude. I guarantee you, Joe is not even thinking about that. He's having raw conversations. I'm gonna say this. Kyle is a liar. He knows he's lying. As someone who's been on Joe's show several times, as have I can tell you straight up, with all due respect to Joe, he ain't thinking about any of this.
Yes.
There's no
absolutely.
plan. Kyle knows this. There's no, I'm going to make sure to say underage persons and planned. It's just absolutely the stupidest thing imaginable.
I think that the majority or anything close to it of the women were technically, I think it was largely very young, barely legal, so to speak. And I know that there were cases of underage, but I think
most of it was just
very, very young, but not like
20-year-old
not
girls,
like 13
18-year-old girls.
type thing. And then remember, because this is an international enterprise, and many of the clients are in countries that don't necessarily have the same norms about that that we do.
A lot of European countries are
see someone
16,
getting involved in that
legal,
just because girls juice deals.
Girls juice deals? What the?
I don't know
By the way, that was all a lie. We literally have, in the Epstein emails that leaked, Epstein had about 12 different passports of girls from the post-Soviet bloc countries.
Yes.
He had passports of girls, and they discussed buying and selling girls like their cars.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of those countries, the legal age of consent is 16. That's what the guy was trying to say. He wasn't saying it. He wasn't saying there was like no disgusting shit at all going on in this. He was saying that because of the countries that were involved in this, it was a little bit easier to do disgusting shit because the countries they were going to, in some cases, they weren't illegal necessarily to go after a 16-year-old if you're looking for sex work. Like, it's disgusting. It's sick. It's something that I would condemn the hell out of over and over again. But because you're bringing it up, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's what he's trying to say. It has nothing to do with condoning it, and it has nothing to do with softening it. It's just pointing out the reality that Europe has a different standard in a lot of countries for what constitutes age of consent versus a country like America, which, by the way, is superior for reasons just like that. But once again, like, what is your point? What is your point? What are you trying to say? That Joe is trying to cover for Epstein or what? This is stupid. This is so insane.
Okay? Indeed. There's all these pictures with actual babies are fucking involved in this thing. Babies. Torture.
Yeah,
death.
That was on the down low.
All sorts. They had a trap door underneath his Rape Island mansion.
Oh, by the way,
where
he just
it
saw
goes
this,
right
so
to the
he-
ocean. Gee,
he
I wonder,
did.
why did he buy all that sulfuric acid when they opened?
That's a good point. I agree with Kyle on this one. Kyle, did Joe text you saying we're not friends anymore and this is why you're doing it all? Because, I mean, maybe.
Up that case into him. This is soft peddling what Jeffrey Epstein is. This is soft peddling the shadow government of billionaire pedophile sadists who actually run the world.
I'm sorry, it's just so funny. Someone accusing Mike Benz of soft peddling shadow government.
So, of course, there's no mention of Elon during this podcast, even though his emails are one of the biggest revelations from the files.
Can I please come to the island, Jeffrey? I sure would like to go to the island. I don't want to meet your diplomats in New York. For the UN General Assembly? Why would I want to do that? And Epstein goes, hey, idiot, I'm speaking in code. Yes, we have a lot of, nobody over the age of 25. Would you like to join us? I'd like to come to your wildest party, sir, Mr. Epstein. Imagine being so unlikable that you're like the richest man in the world and the pedophile cabal of billionaire sadists, that's the shadow government that runs the world, goes,
Let's go, Kyle. Let's go, Kyle. QAnon Kalinske, my boy. The shadow pedophile cabal. Damn.
He's got a plan for Podesta. That's like I was talking about last time. No, so that's what I mean. It's like, this is why the Epstein thing, I'll just close with this. The Epstein thing has really been, like, it is the Russiagate of the second administration, and whatever, because it's not like there's no, it's true. Everything about Epstein is true. But I just heard this story today about how the royal family in Britain has completely excommunicated Prince Andrew. He's no longer in the royal family. Basically everything with his name on it or anything affiliated with him that is a document or whatever, he's never to be referred to by title again. He's never to be like, that's what they do to somebody who has that much following them that is almost irrefutable at the bare minimum. With Virginia Dufresne, we all know, we've seen the photos, we all know what's going on. It's like, it's obvious that was the what's it called? Essentially the oh, you know what? I just realized something. How do you switch to where'd it go? Is there a different? How do I get to? There's no well, I guess there would be subscriber only. I can't see who's if someone was talking on Rumble. I'm sorry, I couldn't see. I have to check. I could check. Oh no, it's here. Oh no. It's MLA. Okay, I see it now. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I was seeing it. Yeah, his voice is annoying as hell, isn't it? Yeah. My point is that, like, ultimately, once again, that's how you deal with somebody in your own circle that, maybe you don't have the evidence. I can't believe that anybody that actually would care, like, all these fucking people, like, once again, Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna, all the people that are just obviously looking for political boost from this in any way they can get it. Nobody mentions at all Virginia Dufresne, who just before the files are supposed to come out, and right after Trump takes office, happens to end up dead and is supposedly committed suicide. And it's like, after everything that's happened during this whole debacle, doesn't that just seem slightly a little too convenient to you that the one living witness that's been willing to come out and be a whistleblower, this whole damn thing, and also just so conveniently has happened to be someone who said over and over again, no, Trump actually had, I never saw Trump involved with anything illegal with underage girls or anything like that. It just so happens to be dead now. Like, and supposedly, like, I don't know for sure on this. I can't put my life on the line for this. Like I can say this for sure, but this is something that I was hearing from people that were talking about the case, which was very few people when it happened. There was not many people talking about the case with Virginia Dufresne, but somebody had mentioned, I think, that she'd given a message to her sister or to maybe it was somebody, she was married, so it could have been her husband's sister or somebody in the family that was close to her, that something like, I haven't been thinking about suicide at all, and if so if something happens to me sometime soon, that's not it. It's not because I'm depressed, or it's not because I've been having suicidal thoughts. And they're like, "What are you talking about? Wait, what's going on? What are you talking?" She's like, "I don't know. Maybe I'm just being paranoid or something." And it was very offhand. It was very unusual. It was very weird. And she's been talking about this since it broke. I mean, she's been a whistleblower on this since the very beginning. She's been in the thick of it the whole time. And at first, it's really about Prince Andrew more than anybody else, because that was really, that was her direct abuser for the most part. She was mostly sex trafficked to Prince Andrew, although there was other people she was sex trafficked to as well. And she was, once again, about 16 or so. But yeah, and his interview was so, oh God, it was absolutely just like, the guy possibly the worst liar I've ever seen in my life. He could not have appeared less genuine if he was trying. It was just, it was an embarrassment. It was an absolute embarrassment. And that's probably why the royal family's like, look, we can't cover for your ass, dude. You gotta go. But it's like she always maintained the same story, never never deviated from it at all. There was photos with her and Epstein and her and Ghislaine Maxwell and with Prince Andrew, and they're all together. And once again, another reason Andrew is so important to this is because he was one of the few people who maintained contact that everybody knows about after he had been released from his first bullshit, trial where he got that slap on the wrist punishment, and he was able to be released on the weekends, and he had this work release sort of program where he had to check in at night on the weekdays, but that was it. So he basically was able to just continue doing the exact same thing he was doing. But Virginia Dufresne was one of the people that was really, really outspoken when the case was first breaking. She was on all these little short documentaries and these television shows that were investigations and stuff. And she really honed in on the like what it was like to be involved as an individual girl that was being trafficked by these people. She specifically had a lot that she said about Ghislaine Maxwell in particular, because she mentioned her like, I wouldn't have thought that a woman in particular would have been more cruel than Jeffrey even, but in many ways she was even more cruel because she would really she would really go after us if we ever had any complaint or anything that we said that was negative about anything we were expected to do. Like, she was really an enforcer. Like, no, you're absolutely going to be doing this, and it's like, so she didn't hold back. She did not hold back, and if there was anything negative to say, then she would have said it. But I guarantee, because all the victims have been coming out and lately, appearing, because of course they're appearing with Democrats. It's like the one part of the hearing with Pam Bondi that I will say I'm glad she didn't do is I'm glad she didn't cave in to the pressure that was put on her to turn around and apologize to the Epstein victims for not doing the investigation more thoroughly. It's like, okay, first of all, I am sorry to the women that they haven't received justice, but I won't come out and apologize for something that this administration, nor I, nor anybody else involved with law enforcement at DOJ or the FBI right now haven't done or have not done, because this has been a case that's been she didn't exactly say this, but I will say this because this is absolutely important to make sure that everybody remembers. This case has been sitting around dormant since 2019 when he was killed, and nobody bothered in the last administration. Nobody bothered to bring anything up. Nobody bothered to say anything. Nobody had been questioning. Nobody had been asking about anything. And Virginia Dufresne had talked to people, but that was about it. And and the victims have come out now and are talking in front of Congress. And this is one thing that I don't understand, because they could come out and say something, but I think maybe, and this might be the most sick thing of all, is that they've talked about how they would release some names themselves of people that they can confirm were definitely there, and they would do it if the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi wasn't going to ever actually release the information. They were going to do it. They're going to do it. They'll release the names and they'll release the information. Blah blah blah. I'm starting to wonder though, because it's always Democrats that are propping these people up. And I know that they're not saying exactly what they want them to say, because they keep propping these people up as victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and they can only go after, right now, the administration so far as to say, like, why didn't you release the files? And now they've released all the files. They released over 3.5 million pages. And then somebody talks about how, well, there's supposed to be 6 million pages. Why is there only 3.5? And I'm sitting there going, well, you do realize that we're talking about very powerful people, first of all, right? And this box of documents, these boxes of documents, all of this information, all of the evidence, everything that was collected for what was going to be a massive trial for this gigantic international sex trafficking ring that was headed by Jeffrey Epstein. The case ends as soon as he gets killed, and then this trove of information is sitting in a storage location in the Southern District of New York, in the judicial, somewhere in the judicial fucking archives of some sort. And you don't think that in all that time, with people that have access to power, levers of power, you don't think there's any way that people that are implicated in some of the most heinous shit that has ever been brought to light are going to go in and remove things that implicate, people that they care about, or people like themselves that they have access to, make sure that they can get this and remove it forever. That's why I don't think we're ever going to know the true extent of this stuff, because it had so much time to sit around and be altered, things could be removed, things could be destroyed, things could be, it could be totally manipulated in a way that we don't fully understand. And that's why, there's not anywhere near a complete list of information, but it's also because Epstein's dead. And now we have Virginia Dufresne is dead, and they get mad whenever they talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. She is a horrible, evil individual, but she's basically the only living person left that knows the extent of what happened and was actually there to see it. And yet, it's the same thing with Putin. It's like, how dare you talk to Putin? It's like, well, we kind of got to talk to the other leader of the country that's involved in the war to end the war. And it's the same thing with this. Like, well, how dare you talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? She's the only one who knows where the bodies are buried. She's the only one who knows, the only one living. Since you guys won't even bring up Virginia Dufresne because she inconveniently just so happened to leave Trump out of all of her accusations, and I'm sure probably Ghislaine Maxwell is going to as well, but you want to know the truth, or do you want to know what you want to hear? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound like it has anything to do with reality, and it has to do with what the Democrats want to hear. They want to hear an accusation, and they want somebody involved in this whole fiasco to be like, yeah, Trump definitely did something. It's like, no evidence. But when has that stopped them before? From the so-called convicted felon who has 34 counts against him, and every single goddamn one of them, out of all of them, not one of them was ever actually even adjudicated correctly. There was no unanimous decision. There was no underlying crime. There was none of that. The whole thing is a sham. And they want to blow it up on the level of an Epstein to involve him in this when there's no proof of that. And when all the evidence points to the exact opposite, and that he was probably the number one person to draw attention to the guy. So it's just like, and so the fact that they use that in the way that they do, combined with the fact that if you say anything about the guy now, you're apparently, part of some grand conspiracy. And Joe Rogan even is at the, it's like, so you want to know why? This is the reason why I get so freaking upset when I hear this stuff, because it's like, this is the kind of thing that has to be one-upped over and over and over again. When you hear something disgusting and terrible about somebody, like say Donald Trump, well, you can't just stop there. You gotta say something else that's even worse. You gotta say something else that's even worse. Now they kind of worked themselves into a position where it can't get really any worse than being involved in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. So if that turns out to not be true, then, well, we've already failed on the Putin thing. We can't prove the link with Russia. We made a big deal about all this other stuff, and it's turned out to either be untrue, or people really just don't care all that much if, Qatar gave him a jet. And it's not even for him, it's for I finally found out, by the way, I'll just mention this, and I gotta cut, but the whole Qatar jet thing, they went to Boeing. They needed a new plane for Air Force One, because honestly, from what I heard, the plane that had been left at as the official Air Force One plane at the time, it was in bad disrepair. It seriously needed to be fixed. There was years and years and years this thing was in operation, and they badly needed a new plane. Boeing couldn't provide one in short order. The only country that had one that actually fit the bill for Air Force One, that was operational and in good shape and still available to be transferred to the President of the United States, whoever the president might be, because that's the point, is that this isn't meant to be Donald Trump's personal plane. This is meant to be the plane that will be operating as the official plane of Air Force One, the President of the United States, for as long as it takes until there's another plane available that can be constructed and operational for the president to use as Air Force One. This is the best they got. So that was kind of the purpose for it. And if there's something wrong with that, well, then you build a plane that's not from in Qatar that he can use, and the presidents can use from here on out. That'll be a safe, reliable plane that can get him around the world to meet with other world leaders whenever he needs to. This whole thing's ridiculous. And I once again go to the fact that, like, if it had been any other president who had gone and got a plane from Qatar, I mean, Joe Biden went down and what was it? It was the Crown Prince of, was that Qatar or was that a different country? I can't remember. Remember the fist bump? And it was like, everybody's going to see if he shakes his hand. Oh, just he fist bumps the guy. Like, it's always got this cover of like, oh, it's fine when they do it because they got this cover story. They can use that as no, I'm sorry. When you're the president of the United States, you have to deal with bad people. That's just the reality of the job. You're going to have to deal with bad people from countries that have a lot of very bad things happening in it. But if you don't deal with these people, then nothing ever is going to happen. Nothing's ever going to get better. Nothing's ever going to change. That's the way it has to work. And it's just the delusion of the left grows deeper and deeper and deeper all the time. They've worked themselves into such a absolutely illogical position, and it's really to the point now where, like, that's why I'm really so concerned about the midterms, is that we're not just talking about the potential for a Democrat majority. If we were talking about that, I wouldn't be that concerned. But with how radical, when you watch hearings now with Democrats, they can't go one hearing without talking about Trump Epstein ties or Trump ties with this, Trump ties with that. Every hearing is an indictment on Trump, and it could have something to do with, like, it could have to do with the construction of a new railway system in Iowa or something like. And they're going to be talking about how Trump did something wrong. It has nothing to do with them, and they're going to freaking like, oh, Trump did this and that, da da da. So they've completely lost their minds with. It doesn't even describe it to call it Trump derangement syndrome. It's like it's beyond that. It's the next level. It's like a terminal Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know what to call it anymore. But they've seriously lost their minds, and it's just it's beyond all. Like nothing's been more revealing, and I think probably the point where people recognize this and really just kind of, rational people recognize this, and anybody else that really agreed with it was going to have to accept the fact that this is going on. Your side, when it is openly celebrating, like, I mean, smiling, laughing, and dancing, when Charlie Kirk gets murdered by some psycho furry faggot who's got a little boyfriend who's probably probably some zoophile, and that's you're gonna celebrate that event like it's an accomplishment, and then you're gonna go around all over the country, and anywhere there's a memorial set up for Charlie Kirk, you're gonna desecrate it, you're gonna spit on it, you're gonna kick it, you're gonna destroy the whole thing. You can't even let his widow and his family mourn in peace. You have to desecrate, you have to insult, you have to go on and on and on, and completely work to just not only humiliate the guy, not only just completely shit all over his family, his company, and everything, but you literally are going to celebrate the man's death and act as if it's a good thing. The man got killed for sitting down on college campuses debating college students, challenging their worldview that they get from their insanely liberal professors who tell them, well, there's the only differences between men and women are social constructs. Like, and that guy gets demonized. It's like, and that's how you have a party made up of about 20% of the country. And that's what I mean by, those are the true believers. Anybody else who's a Democrat or a liberal, not a leftist, but a liberal, and a traditional Democrat, they're all, fleeing the party. They can't take it anymore. Because it's nonstop, constant, just this same kind of worldview of, we've got Nazis in the White House, and the Gestapo is out on the streets rounding up civilians. And it's not even hyperbolic anymore. They actually mean it. It's ludicrous. Anyway, I didn't realize I'd gone 3 hours. I'm going to call it quits there, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and make it on tomorrow, but if it's not tomorrow, it's going to be Friday, because I will be going over I was going to talk about it today, but I obviously didn't have a chance. But I'm going to be going over the, I was talking about it all day today. Can't remember what it was now for some reason. I referenced it a couple times today. It was the it had something to do with it wasn't the Washington Post story. It was the there was the Man. Oh, that's right. The Colbert, Jasmine Crockett, and her opponent in Texas for the Senate, that whole fiasco. And there's a couple other things I'll probably end up going over to that I didn't have time for today. Either way, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a great one. And I will see you then. Peace.
Again, 5, 4, 3. That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a. I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.